of July 15th, and we're gonna do introductions to ensure that we have a quorum. Starting with you, Jamie.
Recording in progress.
Jennifer Stacy.
Mark Lamb.
Dottie Fulgenetti.
Craig Barger.
And just to let people know, this meeting is being recorded and broadcast live on Easton Cable Access Television. It is available to view in the future if you go to their website. And if it is hybrid, and if you are on Zoom and you have a question, please put your question in the Q&A, and we will answer your question for you. Remember that you'd have to include your name and street address for our minutes. So with that, we're going to get to the first item on the agenda, but Craig is going to read the public hearing notice.
The Easton Sewer Commissioners will hold a public hearing. The town office is 136 Elm Street, Easton, Mass. on Monday, July 15th, 2024 at 6 p.m. to assess a sewer privilege fee to 646 Washington Street, Easton, Mass. and to consider an in-kind public benefit authorization in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 83, Section 17, and the Easton Code, Chapter 505, Sewer Use Regulations, Section 5, Sewer Privilege Fee. Those who cannot attend and wish to submit written testimony for the record may do so by sending an email with the subject public hearing -646 Washington Street, sewer, to sdugan@easton.ma.us.
Great. Thank you, Craig. So our first item on the agenda is 646 Washington Street, Easton, and I'm going to ask Connor if you can just give the board and the people here and the public a brief overview of where we are with this.
Sure, thank you, Dottie. So you have a variety of privilege fees on your docket tonight in your capacity as sewer commissioners. The first item, though, is a hearing because this is not just the assessment of a privilege fee, but it's a consideration of what's called an in-kind public benefit authorization, which is a policy mechanism that this board adopted years ago as we started constructing public sewer systems because we knew at that time that the area of need for public wastewater treatment was far greater than the size of the public projects that we were building. So in many cases, as these public sewer collection systems were built, they did not better the entire treatment capacity of these plants. And the idea was that over time, as nearby property owners started to look to the future towards what they would like to do with their properties, that the proximity of that public infrastructure would incent them to say, we're going to put some of our own resources on the table to extend that line or extend a line to the public sewer so that we can build up better in the future or have our neighbors do so. And so the first item is this hearing associated with 646 Washington Street. It's at D'Angelo's Plaza. I think we have numerous representatives here tonight. From D'Angelo's, as the board might recall, what is in front of you and what I'm recommending is a conditional approval of an in-kind public benefit authorization that looks to, in part, revive a multi-party agreement that this board executed many, many years ago, back when 661 Washington Street was in a different iteration. We now know it is home to the future Silco VW. And these businesses have come together and said that sewer could make sense for them rather than doing Title V septic. And what this would do is that Brian McLaughlin, D'Angelo's here tonight. I believe he and his engineers can speak in more detail to the specifics, but they would be at their cost constructing a line from the southern terminus of the Queesit public sewer system, which is the pump station at the intersection of County and Washington, over the brook, and then down through property owned by McLaughlin, but size it along with putting putting pumps there that can send across the bridge, size it large enough so that some of the neighboring properties can tie in and benefit from it. So it's not just a straight service line, as some folks sometimes do, where that's just kind of on their property. It's for their specific benefit. It is larger than that, and others can benefit from it as well. And so when other things like this, although admittedly this is a bit unique because it's in private property, when there have been other times that a private property owner paid for the extension of functionally a sewer main, the board has used this mechanism to reduce some of that total project cost to the private property owner, which was what it was designed to do. And so you have a packet in front of you you have a summary. It's probably hard to see here. There's some engineered plans, although I thought I saw an easel work its way in here, so there might be some larger ones if anyone would like to see it. But in speaking with a property owner, we have kind of an agreement in principle for the board to consider that is still contingent ultimately upon certain final agreements being reduced to writing between the town, McLaughlin, and other relevant properties. It's in front of you in that kind of conditional format because we meet every 3 weeks in the summer. If we can get to a place of comfort where there can be a contingent approval that can give a green light and keep things moving so that these folks can keep moving towards building. So some items for the board to consider. I already touched on roughly what the private construction looks like. Those are private costs borne by McLaughlin that are estimated to be in excess of $300,000. Looking at the existing property, you would typically consider from a perspective of public works the equivalent of 8 sewer betterment units, which is in the area of $158,000. So the private costs are anticipated to exceed that. What the board has done in the past when there has been private costs in excess or near what the privilege fee would be is you've typically adopted a kind of a policy position of a minimum of 1 betterment unit so that it's not at a zero cost privilege. In trying to make sure that the final agreement here is protecting everyone involved, what we have discussed with McLaughlin is that sewer main design and applicable services have to be approved by Public Works. That's already ongoing. The engineers from D'Angelo and DPW, as well as the abutting properties, have been in pretty constant communication. All related permits must be acquired. There needs to be a mutually agreeable easement document between 646 Washington and 661 Washington that the town is party to that contemplate things like emergency access to the sewer, which McLaughlin would retain ownership and maintenance of, future access. So in order to qualify this for an in-kind public benefit, rather than just where if somebody builds just a service line that only services their property, that's a private benefit. So the policy framework that looks to provide some kind of relief to folks spending this money is when there's benefit to other properties besides their own. So there's a very immediate example, which is going to be the VW across the street, but it's estimated that additional properties in the future that are still within that needs area could connect into this. And so one of the components of a future agreement would be that if the property owners to qualify for an in-kind public benefit, they would have to allow other properties to tie in without any kind of prohibitive fees or things like that, which Mr. McLaughlin has agreed to. And it's also recognized that the 8 SBU flow calculation is based on what exists at 646 Washington today. So if 10 years from now, Mr. McLaughlin or the successors to this property were to tear it down and build something substantially higher use, that may kick in additional privilege fees. So this has been discussed at essentially that level of detail. There's not a final agreement, but this is, I think, a reasonable framework that the board could feel comfortable with a contingent approval. Of course, the applicant is here. If the board has any questions or the applicant wants to weigh in, Deputy Director of Public Works Greg Swan is here. But the goal here was to kind of get this to a place where we at least can perhaps consider a contingent approval to keep the project moving for all the folks on that stretch of 138.
Okay. So who's here representing? Hi, Keith. Good to see you again. I just didn't know who was going to want to speak. So.
Scott Fowler is our engineer.
Okay.
He's here with the plans and to represent the detailed conversations about the sewer line and everything else.
Okay. Do you want to come up to the table, though, just because the microphone needs to capture you for TV?
So it's been an ongoing project. Ed Walsh bought the property across the street, 4 or 5 years ago. Time goes by quick. Large mixed-use development. Ed is a friend of ours. And, we had discussions about, sewer capacity in the area, knowing that the sewer line, when it was installed in this Quested Commons area, was stopped at the river that's further up 138 from us. So he approached us. The most affordable way to get sewer line down was in our property. Connor was involved. There was some general discussions, and we kind of put together the paperwork that was signed and recorded before. Project changed. Silco Volkswagen's involved. So we just knew that we didn't, like all the documents and the intentions changed once he sold the property with a change of use.
Right.
So we just picked it up about a year ago, kind of said, hey, is the intent of that agreement still in place? Because long-term, we felt like that our properties would be better off part of that sewer connection. And so the feedback from the town was, yeah, the intent is still there, the capacity is still there. So we said, okay, we'll spend some money to privately finance it, which, now, we'll take the lead on it. And that's what we did. So we hired Holmgren Associates. I've had some conversations. And so we just wanted something that in principle, we're contributing to it. Our neighbors are going to join into it. And it services the community better. And now's a good time for it. So that's my involvement with it from the day one.
And it's good for the environment.
Good for the environment.
Yeah, excellent. Hello, welcome back.
Thank you. Scott Faria from Holmgren Engineering, working with Keith McLaughlin and D'Angelo's on this property. Just real quick, it's about 900 foot of sewer line going from County Lane heading south down 138 to the existing Dean Fuel. So that's really what we're looking for permission. The most complicated part of it, there's a couple obviously going over private property, mostly within the D'Angelo's parking lot is where the majority of the work will be. And then we go overland and get into the brook. The sewer main will be hung underneath the brook and then break out and head towards County Lane and tie into the existing infrastructure on County Lane. So that's really the quick idea of it. We've gone back and forth with Mr. Swan's office a couple of times and feel like we have a pretty good set of plans now that are agreeable to everybody. So I think we have a little bit of fine tuning to do, but I think we're pretty much there at this point.
Okay, great.
And we do have, there's a couple of other steps we need to go through. The work is within the buffer zone. Obviously, we're crossing the brook that's right on top of the resource area. So we do have a filing before the Conservation Commission currently. So we need their approval, and we also need a MassDOT approval as well going forward.
So I love to see the collaboration amongst businesses. I think that was the spirit of, thinking about the possible expansion is to attract not only new businesses, but also businesses that wanted to, expand or change over that period of time. The easement and the access, I think, were things that, seem to be pretty straightforward from before, future access, and then the change of use that Connor mentioned. If something does change, that does change, potentially the betterments depending on what happens. One of the things that I don't have a problem, having the conversations continue subject to some of the conditions that you looked at. But one of the questions that I had is thinking, of unintended consequences years down the road. Because you would be responsible for the operation and maintenance of that part of the sewer, has there been any thought as to how to protect everybody involved in that, should it change ownership? So like, I'm thinking of a scenario in 20 years, you guys retire maybe. It gets sold to another big organization, like a big national or international organization that doesn't really care that much about Easton, right? And then there's a problem with that part of the sewer and they don't want to fix it, even though the agreement is that the landowner is responsible for that operation and maintenance. Are there bonds or surety or any kind of an instrument that can protect that kind of a scenario?
I think in prior discussions, it was presented as a private sewer line, right? And so when I first got involved, it was really meant for private sewer line, clear and simple, our responsibility, 100% under our control. And then as the conversations have gone on with the design phase, Silco across the street wanted to join in because instead of being on septic. And then the town had suggested having future connections with the daycare center that's there or other places that are there. To me, I just said that I figured we could vote on the intentions here, we can button up a document later, but there should be a point in time where we are 100% responsible for the maintenance today, and while it is a private line, but if it's going to be opened up to lots of participants that are paying betterment fees, that would be paying the town for fees on the infrastructure that I built, and my phase is closed out, right? The infrastructure was done on my payment. And they're gonna be paying the town betterment fees to tie into that line. And that line should be more of a common maintenance area, and I shouldn't own it for 100 years. There should be a transition. And the town would be paid by those people tying in to cover that expense. So I think that's a fair way to look at it. I don't have a document of how that should be done, but that common sense to me is what I think it should be.
Okay. I think that the difference in a case like that is that if you own the mechanics, like pump stations and things like that, it's a little bit different. But I would encourage you to have those conversations when you're talking about this, so that it is well documented, whatever the solution is, that it's very clear. So,
Well, right now, from my understanding, and Scott, you need to tell me what this is, but I know that like we have 3 connections in our land, right? Each one would have a pump that would pump to the trunk line. And then the other people that are participating currently across the street with the car dealership, they'd have to have a pump that would pump into the trunk line. What other maintenance items are there besides the trunk line running? Is there another pump?
No, the design and the installation of these systems are a little bit different than they used to be, where you would have a big sewer pump and everything would run gravity to the sewer pump and then get ejected, to its ending point. Now everybody has a smaller pump on their property essentially. So D'Angelo's is responsible for their pump, Dean Fuel is responsible for their pump, Volkswagen would be responsible for their pump, and everybody pumps up to the line that runs uphill and dumps into your existing infrastructure on County Lane. So it's a little bit different. There isn't a giant pump that would need to be maintained.
So
everybody has their individual system, just like you have your individual septic system at your house.
so if one of those pumps failed, that wouldn't impact the whole infrastructure?
It wouldn't impact everybody but your particular business.
Say that again?
It would just impact.
Impact your
that particular
business.
use, right?
But it wouldn't stop the
Doesn't
rest of the
impact
system
entire
from
line,
working?
right.
Okay. All right.
And Greg, I'm going to put you on the spot, but this exact hypothetical came up, and as part of DPW's engineering review for sewer permits, part of this is that each of those pumps has, I think it's 24-hour.
It has to have a certain amount of reserve capacity, or it has to be tied into a generator, to be determined on a service connection. When they file their service connection permit, we'll go over those details. In the event of a power outage, as we know in the past, if there's no power to run those pumps, but there's still wastewater being produced, where's it going? So there has to be some sort of reserve capacity in that.
Right, so that it's not an immediate risk of any.
Until we have enough time to get everything up and running, as we know, especially last December when we lost power for certain areas of the town, lost power for days. As long as we required of everybody who's put a pump system in, this should be good.
Okay. All right, Jamie, any questions?
No, I don't. I think I'm relying a lot on Greg and the rest of the folks that have vetted this thus far.
Jen?
It all sounds great, and I love the forward collaborative thinking and the environmental benefits of it as well. I guess my questions were in Dottie's vein, but in a similar vein, do we look into other places that have done this? This is kind of a thing that's been done other places, and there's precedent for it, not necessarily in Easton, but elsewhere. I'm just curious.
So we did this for Whistle Stop Plaza last year. It was a little different in that they extended the existing sewer line, gravity line in the public right of way.
Yep.
There's some more details we worked out with this particular project, as this is going to be on private property.
Yep.
But we have done this type of configuration where a private developer comes in, improves the town infrastructure, and there is some credit given for the cost.
Awesome.
Just, Dottie, and I'll say, because it's kind of on that, have there been any private folks that don't want to be charged the betterment? Now, I understand you don't necessarily have to tie in, but that's...
So in this case, by virtue of this being done privately, under state law, if we were to run a sewer main down the right of way on Washington, whether you tie in or not, you get a betterment.
Okay.
This, and you'll see associated properties here, tonight, you have 646, 661, and 666. Those are ones that are all planning to tie in immediately. Privilege fees under your regulations kick in upon approval for connection. Privilege fees don't attach to a property by virtue of a privately constructed sewer being next to it.
Thank you.
So an example is the daycare across the street. I believe a stub is being contemplated in the trunk in your property, but they're not tying in at this time. If in the future they wanted to avail themselves of that, they would need to come before the board for a privilege fee. So privileges function slightly different than a betterment.
Thank you.
And there's a precedent for that last year is we went right by the residents.
That's right, at Five Corners.
At Five Corners.
And they didn't get hit with a betterment.
Service connection, but we did not require them nor charge them a privilege fee to tie in. So the availability is there in the future, just not requiring them to do that right now.
Mark?
So, I mean, just in the same conversation, that transition plan, whatever that is, I would just pay close attention to that because I do understand your point completely. To pay for the infrastructure perpetuity it all made sense to me. So I just stress the importance of when does this end, how does it end, has to be in writing. And then my other question is, I know you have things going on with MassDOT and Conservation Commission. I don't know how long it takes for MassDOT to respond or for you to get through that phase, but the timing of that, will that fall in line with Mr. Silverleaf opening up? Because this has to be done before you can be functional.
May I respond?
Of course, yeah, please.
I think for everybody involved in this project, we're the most time sensitive.
Yeah.
We need to be operational by the second week of November. And if we don't get applications in, I'm assuming, and Mr. Swan can probably speak better to this, if we don't get an application into MassDOT maybe yesterday, we're going to run out of time, and we have no choice. We use Scott's services as well, and I've authorized him to come up with the septic plan because I think we've got less than 50% chance to tie in unless things happen very, very quickly. And in no way, shape, or form am I trying to move anyone's time frame here, but I need to be operational. I can't sit with the lights out 6 months waiting.
Right.
And also, once we get further down the road, we run into weather issues. The contractors won't do the work in the winter. So we need to be tied in pretty quickly. But if we can't make it, then unfortunately, we'll be out.
Okay.
And once I put in a septic, I'm not going to put in a septic
course.
to 6 months later,
course.
tie into sewer. That makes no sense.
Right. Right.
So for us, the clock is, we're halfway through the fourth quarter of the game.
Well, I think that's why we recognize that and why Connor's pulled together the resources with Greg to work together
Absolutely.
on this and get it moving. Ordinarily, we would require another meeting to, really button this down, but we're counting on our experts to be able to, put these conditions in writing, come to an agreement with you so that we can move forward for you to be able to do that. Now, we can't control Mass DOT or the Conservation Commission.
No.
So you want to get on those right away, of course, and, I hope they
Yeah,
move
we
smoothly.
need to get through this hurdle first,
Right.
and then, I know that Scott has been in touch with Mr. Swan, and there's certainly a movement afoot ready to go, I believe, with MassDOT, and then Conservation Commission, that's another kettle of fish, but I would think that the environmental benefits overall that this would provide would certainly be a win. We very much want to be a part of this.
Right,
Yes.
But we also can't hold up everything for this.
of course. Craig?
Excuse me, Adam, are you going to build your septic system? At what point do you start to build your septic system?
I would say, I would defer to the engineer, but I would say probably within the next 60 days. If we're not at a point where we know that we can get in, at the end of the day, Mr. Barger, we need to be able to flush the toilets.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But I think does that seem about right?
Yeah, I think that.
Is that realistic to get through ComCon and MassDOT, 60 days?
I think Concom, we can be doing that concurrently with MassDOT, so I don't think conservation will be a problem. Really, the biggest issue is getting to a point where all of the parties are comfortable enough to get the contractors to order the materials. That's really the biggest time. Everybody's ready to jump on work, but you've got to order the materials you need, and there's definitely a lag time in ordering. So, you know, nobody wants to go and order the parts today based on these plans, knowing that they might change.
Right.
Once you order them, you own them. So that's really the biggest issue, is getting to a point where everybody's comfortable in ordering the stuff, getting it on site, and getting it ready. The actual work isn't gonna take 60 days or 90 days. It's just the lead time to get to that.
Did you have something?
No,
Conor?
that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's great. I feel like the timing is a little bit tight, but you guys will work all that out. We got smart people working together on this, and as long as we're looking at the contingencies and capturing everything that we mentioned tonight, I think that'll be fine.
Okay. If the board is willing, there's a recommended motion that I think summarizes all the items that need to be buttoned down.
I just want to, did you have any questions for us? Or anybody in the room have any questions from the public? Is there anybody on Zoom for the Q&A? Okay. I just forget that we're on Zoom sometimes, so I don't really ask, so just trying to get better at that. Do you want to read the motion, Craig?
Motion to approve privilege fee and in-kind public benefit authorization for 646 Washington Street, reflecting a revised privilege fee equal to 1 sewer betterment unit, $19,837, payable to the town of Easton prior to the connection of the property to the sewer. This approval is expressly contingent upon the general conditions referenced in relation to design, permits, easements, maintenance, and ownership, and future access agreed to by Keith McLaughlin as an authorized representative of 646 Washington Street, which will be reduced to a written agreement between McLaughlin and the town of Easton on a form acceptable to the town. And further, the town administrator be authorized to finalize and execute said form on behalf of the Sewer Commission.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here tonight. Okay, the next one we have is 572 Foundry Street, which is a residential property.
Sure, thank you, Dottie. So you actually have 4 items under this agenda item. These are much more straightforward. There's not an in-kind benefit contemplated here. These are properties. 2 of the Washington Street ones were rolled into that hearing discussion, and then the Foundry Street ones are in the Five Corners Sewer District. These are either expansions or improvements, subdivisions of existing properties. Your packet has recommendations from Public Works on them. I believe there are some representatives here.
Isabel Wilson's on Zoom, and I'm going to promote her to a panelist.
Okay.
If the board has any questions for the applicants.
Okay. So 572 Foundry Street is for the purposes of determining a reasonable fee to connect to the sewer district. 3, 4, and 5 bedroom single-family homes as part of the Five Corners Sewer Construction Project were assessed at 1 sewer betterment unit each. And so the recommendation for that at 572 Foundry is being assessed a privilege fee equivalent to 1 sewer betterment unit, or $19,837 is what that translates to. Do you want to talk about these one at a time or all together, or?
You could do it one at a time if you would like.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is anyone here for 572 Foundry, or?
Isabel Wilson's on Zoom for 572, and then we have representatives from 531.
Okay. So Isabel, thanks for being here tonight.
Hi, good evening.
Do you have any comments or questions after what you just heard us talking about 572?
No, the potential buyer has a plan to build a 4-bed, 3-bath, single-family home, and we are just going through conservation at the moment. Before then, we can move to the next phase with the building permit.
Okay. So you understand that it would be a privilege fee equivalent to 1 sewer betterment unit?
Yes.
All right. So we're all in agreement on that one. Any comments or questions from the board?
No.
No.
Anybody in the room? Okay. All right. Thanks, Isabel. We're going to
Thank
go
you.
on to the next one, 531.
Do a motion on this one?
Do you want to do a motion first, or do them all?
It's your preference.
Why don't we do them all at the end?
Okay.
We'll do them as a slate, unless there's one that has a problem. 531 Foundry Street residential property. This is for the purposes of determining a reasonable fee to connect to this sewer district. Again, a 3-bedroom unit on a multifamily property is recommended to be assessed at 1 SBU, and a 2-bedroom unit on a multifamily property is recommended to be assessed at 3/4 of an SBU. The total SBU requirement on this proposed duplex would be 1.75 SBUs. As 1 SBU was assessed as part of the original project, the increase would be 3/4 of an SBU, and that would translate to $14,877.75. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Anybody here from 572? Did you have a comment or question?
531.
I'm sorry, 541.
31.
31. It's been a long day.
Good evening. Gary Beinecke from 531 Foundry. I have no questions. We're in agreement.
Okay.
Good.
It's going to be making it easy tonight.
Right.
All right, 661 Washington Street, commercial property. Is this?
Yes,
Yeah,
so
this is-
those are related to the hearing, but they are their own property, so they're separate.
Okay.
So 661 is for the Silco, that is 2 SB. Am I reading this correct?
This is, so this is for the purposes of determining a reasonable fee to connect to the sewer district. It's been determined that 661 Washington Street has the equivalent of 2 sewer betterment units. This was determined by examining historical records of other similarly sized automobile dealerships in the area, as well as the original Title V calculations for the property's septic system. The cost of 1 SBU for the construction of the Five Corners Sewer Project was $19,837. The privilege fee for 661 Washington Street is therefore estimated as $39,674. Any comments or questions on that?
No.
Is Adam still here?
He may be, but that price was communicated to him.
Okay. And then the last one is 666 Washington Street, which is a commercial property. For the purposes of determining a reasonable fee to connect to the sewer district, it has been determined that 666 Washington Street has the equivalent of 1 sewer betterment unit. This was estimated by examining the current use of the property. The cost of 1 SBU for the construction of the Five Corners Sewer Project, again, was $19,837. So the privilege fee is estimated for 666 Washington Street is $19,837. And that's been communicated. That's D'Angelo's, correct?
It's
That's
Dean Oil.
Oh, Dean
owned by
Oil.
the same
Okay.
family.
Okay. Any comments, questions for anybody? Anybody in the audience? Anybody on Zoom, Sean? All right, I would take a motion to assess the sewer privilege fees as we noted in the packet for the 4 properties listed, and we'll do those as a slate.
With just, if I may add 2 conditions. One is that applicants must seek and receive all permits associated with the installation of that sewer service lines and associated properties, construction, and the privilege fee will be due and payable in full upon connecting to the sewer.
Okay.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Excellent. Great. Did we get everything?
We did.
Thank you. And thank you to all the businesses that are committed to staying in Easton and bettering their businesses and their homes. It really makes a big difference in those areas.
I believe you have minutes as well.
Yeah, trying to get this to move. All right, and we have the acceptance of minutes from May 1st, 2023. Clearly, we don't meet that often during the year.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Excellent. And a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Barger.
Second.
Barger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, we're just going to switch over to the Select Board meeting now. Wear many hats tonight. So, let me see. It doesn't matter what time we start, correct?
No, as long as it's after 6:15,
After 6.
which it is, so
Yeah,
you're good to go.
okay. So welcome to the July 15th Select Board meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So before I go into some of the other comments that I have before we start the meeting, I just want to see if anybody noticed that the Massachusetts flag is missing from our trio of flags behind us. And one of our select board members might be responsible for that. Jamie, do you want to mention where the flag went?
Thank you to the town for allowing the, actually there's one of the youth right there, who was the player of the game this morning in Oxford, Connecticut, for the 11U competing in the regional Cal Ripken Babe Ruth World Series track. So he'll be playing in a semi-final game on Wednesday with the hopes of a championship game on Thursday to represent all of New England for the Cal Ripken Babe Ruth Little League in Branson, Missouri. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Congratulations, and we know that Birch is going to take good care of that flag for us. Good luck in your games. I do want to mention that this meeting is broadcast live on Easton Community Access Television. It is on Zoom, so we have people that are able to log in and ask questions. If you do want to ask a question on Zoom, just put it in the Q&A. Make sure to give your name and address for our minutes. And I think I just want everyone, did we already introduce ourselves for quorum, or was that? I don't think we did that yet on this one.
Not for select board, no.
So Jamie Stebbins.
Jennifer Stacy.
Mark Lamb.
Dottie Fulgenetti.
Greg Barger.
All right, great. So for our first item, we're going to have 6:30, the public hearing, the request for earth removal permit at 102 Eastman Street, parcel SR 15. Craig, if you want to read the public hearing notice.
Oh, wait a second, we got this one next up here. Pursuant to Chapter 128-4 of the Easton Town Code, the Easton Select Board will hold a public hearing at the town offices, 136 Elm Street, Easton, Mass, on July 15, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. The purpose of the hearing is to consider the application for an earth removal permit for Hopkinton LNG Corp. for property located at 102 Eastman Street, parcel 9R-15. Interested residents will have the opportunity to provide comment. Those who cannot attend and wish to submit written testimony for the record may do so by sending an email with the subject public hearing earth removal permit to ehag@easton.ma.us.
Okay. Connor, do you want to give us a little intro on this?
Sure, thank you, Dottie. So this is a infrequent permit type to make its way to the select board. Typically, our inspectional services department approves earth removal permits. However, under the town's bylaws, if the soil being removed is in excess of 1,000 cubic yards, the permit, after being reviewed for technical completeness by inspectional service, which is the case tonight, comes to the select board for approval. So your packet has a copy of that bylaw. There's a hearing notice there. We published notice of it in the enterprise, sent it to all abutters. This is estimated to be about 4,500 cubic yards that's stockpiled on site, has been approved to be disposed of at a licensed soil reuse and reclamation site in accordance with DEP's interim policy on the reuse of soil for large reclamation projects, which rolls off the tongue. There's an application from Eversource in your packet. This has been reviewed by land use and environmental planner Jen Carlino, who also did a site inspection, found that all wetland requirements and wetland bylaws are being met. And Concom approved a wetland permit for it in February this year. The inspector of buildings, Kevin Greiner, who's here tonight, if the board has any questions, has also reviewed the application report. It appears to be complete with all the necessary documents included, has no aversion to its approval. And then we have, through reviewing back historically, other conditions had this circulated with public safety and public works as well. We have a draft condition letter in front of a board, should you wish to approve, just relating to hours of work, things of that nature. I believe there is a representative here for the project who may wish to speak with the board. And after any questions the board may have, we would recommend an approval contingent on any fees as well as the conditions in the letter. So.
Okay, I think it's important to mention the conditions in the letter for people that might be watching at home. So the maximum quantity of earth to be removed shall be limited to 4,500 cubic yards. The fee shall be $500. All truck travel must be directly to and from Route 495 via 123 unless the final destination is inside the limits of the town of Easton as approved by the police chief. The hours of operation are limited to 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. The police chief will monitor the impact on commuter traffic for the first few days and may suggest a restriction of hours if necessary. All loaded trucks shall be adequately covered to prevent contents from spilling and blowing from the load and to prevent a hazard to other vehicles. A plan shall be in place to prevent debris from being deposited at the intersection of Foundry and Eastman. The contractor shall put in place measures to contain dust and debris. No area shall be excavated as to cause an accumulation of standing water. Drainage shall not lead into streams or ponds, and that the town administrator is authorized upon recommendation of either the police chief or the fire chief to require a police detail to provide for safe ingress and egress of the trucks from the site. And that in granting this approval, the board specifically allows the removal of the loom from the limits of the town of Easton. This approval is in accordance with section 128-3 of the town's general bylaws. So I think those are all very well thought out and reasonable, and I think hopefully people at home will agree, because those will be the questions that we would be getting from people, right? So, any comments or questions from the board? Jamie? Jen?
Is there someone that checks number 6 and 7? Like, is that, how is that enforced or checked?
So there was, again, site visits done by land use environmental planner, and we can, if the board wishes, schedule periodic checks by inspectional services. I would suggest to the board that we invite the applicant up
Sure.
To speak to any questions that there are.
Okay.
So Cheryl Coast Garden from Eversource who's here as well via Zoom.
Okay. If you
Good
just
evening.
introduce
My name is
yourself.
John McDermott. I work for Chimbro Corporation, and
Okay.
we are the contractor doing the work, the
Excellent.
construction manager.
Great. Okay. Just going to keep asking the board if they have any further questions. And Mark?
I do not.
Craig?
When do you determine when you're gonna be starting the movement? After if we give approval, what's the time frame?
We would have to pay the fee, and then we would have to schedule trucking. Week to 2 weeks before we could get started is an estimate.
And what's the duration? How long do you think it'll take?
I'm gonna guess it's 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 tops. It's how many trucks can they send us a day? We'll have one machine dedicated to loading trucks. As long as they can supply the trucks, we should be able to put a good dent in it in 2 to 3 weeks.
Excellent. Where do you bring the dirt to?
The soil is going to a facility in Kingston, Mass.
Oh, so that's not too far. You don't have to go through the Sumner Tunnel. So that's good.
Thank goodness.
Okay. Do you have any other things that we should be thinking about, or?
I do not. I've expressed the
I think-
comments from the town staff.
Yep, I think everything's covered, so.
So it's gonna be down 123, which is now being repaid right now, so timing is fine.
I trust that in their review, Public Works, Police, Fire have contemplated that. I'm not exactly certain of the overlapping construction schedules.
Okay. Well, I think it's good that there's flexibility in there with the chiefs, that if something isn't working great, and it seems
Sure.
like collaboration and good communication are always the best practices, so.
Agreed.
I think if it works good for you, it works good for us and vice versa, right? You want to get this done and get in and out of there, right?
Yes, ma'am. I need the
Excellent.
real estate.
Exactly. All right.
Did this gentleman have a question?
Dottie, I think there was.
Sorry, come on up. Just your name and address?
My name is Danny Albanez. I live at 60 Eastman Street. I'm an abutting neighbor, and I was just curious what's going on with this project.
I'm not sure the particulars of the project. We're only voting on the earth removal, but do you know, Connor?
I believe there's some sort of expansion on site. I would, again, defer to the applicant's construction manager,
By
or
all means. So Eversource bought this property.
could you please go to the microphone for the public access?
sir.
Thank you.
Eversource bought these property from Columbia Gas, I'm going to guess 5 years or so. They're investing a lot of money in these LNG facilities. Their control rooms, their electrical rooms are, I'm going to say 50 years old. So these buildings need they need to be replaced, and that's what we're doing. And by doing this, it's going to make the community a lot safer. If you look at the existing control room in the back, it's an old building.
So we're not like adding any tanks or anything?
No, sir. No, sir. We're replacing the control building, the electrical building, and we're going to build them a new maintenance building. No expansion.
Excellent. Does that satisfy your question? Yes. Excellent, thank you. We appreciate you coming here tonight. We don't often get a lot of physical attendance for things, so when people take the time to be here to ask questions like that, it's important because you have the question and other people have the question. So appreciate you being here. Anybody else? Anything on Zoom? All right. Craig?
So we move to approve the Eversource LNG plant at 102 Eastman Street, moving 4,500 cubic yards within the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lim. All in favor? Unanimous. Excellent. All right. Next we have the one-day liquor licenses.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And thank you to the person that you saw that was on Zoom from Eversource. All right. The first item we have is Brockton Beer Company, the Stronger Together fundraiser event at Holy Cross Center parking lot, July 27th, 2024, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., with a storm date of July 28th, 2024. Brockton Beer, come on up. I recognize you.
Evening, everyone. Ed Cabela, Managing Partner of Brockton Beer Company.
Hi, Ed. Thanks for being here tonight.
You're welcome.
So tell us a little bit about what the event is.
So it's a fundraising event at Stonehill College in the Holy Cross parking lot. It's our second year going to be there, and we're going to be. We've been asked to provide brews, local brews, for the folks participating in the event. So we're going before you tonight to get the license ourselves, as opposed to through the vendor who's running the event. And so we have already worked closely with them on operations plans, safety, PD, making sure that we're all set there. So we're just here tonight to request approval for the license for next Saturday.
Okay, well, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to tell us a little bit about Brockton Beer. You are our neighboring community, and
Oh, sure.
I'm familiar with, I watched it be built and that whole transformation of that corner in Brockton. So let the public know. I know that you just got voted the world's best French fries on National French Fry Day.
I don't know if it's the world's best, but they're pretty good. Yeah, we got built about 2 years ago now. We just celebrated our second anniversary, 121 Main Street, downtown Brockton. We're a brew pub, following the great footsteps of Shoveltown, some of our favorite folks here, and local breweries. We're a brew pub, and so we serve food, craft beer, and we've now begun to expand by doing distribution. So we're now self-distributing our own product. So founded by 4 families in Brockton, and our goal was to help revitalize the downtown area. And we've been active in the Easton community, particularly through the arts. We've sponsored a lot of the shows that take place at Oliver Ames, and so we certainly support and really welcome our neighbors here in Easton. So,
excellent. And there's housing that was brought in, built over the brewery at the same time.
Yes.
And that got outfitted immediately, leased up right away, and it really invigorated and made that thriving. So I just want to make the connection between housing and economic development, because
Yes.
that's a really strong success story there.
48 units sold
Yep.
out right away. So it was great, and they're often downstairs eating our French fries. So yeah, and drinking our beer. But yeah. Sure.
All right. Now, can the public go to this event, or is it a private event?
It's a public event. You have to be 21 to get into our area, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
Do you buy tickets? Or?
Yeah, there's tickets sold, and then you can come the day of the event. I don't know how many years they've done this event, but I know it's our second year being involved. So,
Okay.
Yep.
So people can look for that online.
Yes.
And that is the Stronger Together fundraiser event.
Yes.
All right. Any questions from the board? Comments?
I just want to say thank you as well. And I see Frank in the audience, and the partnership has been phenomenal. And seeing you guys kind of get off the ground with, I know, some mentorship over at Shoveltown. So it's awesome. And some of the brews that you guys have created together have been amazing too. So thank you.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Jen?
No questions,
Mark?
just excited to see it.
No questions, thank you.
Craig?
No questions? I'll
All
take
right.
a motion. Move to approve a Brockton Beer Company one-day liquor license, Stronger Together fundraising event at Holy Cross Center parking lot, July 27, 2024, from 11 to 4 p.m., with a storm date of July 28, 2024.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous, excellent. Congratulations, good luck on the event.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So next up, we have the Shoveltown Brewery Summer Fest fundraiser. This is going to be held in the rear lot of 50 Oliver Street, July 27th, 2024, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. with a storm date of July 28th, 2024. Frank Altieri is here. He is requesting the one-day beer and wine license for the annual Summerfest fundraiser benefit. Frank, come on up. Tell us about your event.
Yeah, sure. First, I'd like to say that I was at an event with Eval, who's one of the co-owners of Brockton Beer Works, or Brockton Brewery, over the weekend, and we had a great time, and we promised each other we would go to each other's events, which are on the same date. So Brockton Beer, as you know, has done a great job. They've got a great space in Brockton, and we worked with them during Prova and some other of the events down there. So we really like those guys, and we collaborate on different types of things. So I'm going to show, I promised I would show up at their event. They said they were going to come over to ours. So it'll all work out.
So do we have to go to both events?
Yeah, you have to go to both. So for our Summerfest, we're making that family friendly. We are accepting pre-tickets through our Eventbrite, and we have that listed on our social media and also our website. You can get to that at shoveltownbrewery.com or through our social media at Shoveltown Brewery. And you can buy tickets in advance. The proceeds are going to go to the Easton Food Pantry for that, and we're also asking people to bring a non-perishable food item. There'll be games for the kids. There'll be lots to do. We have a lot of fun, tug of war, egg toss, some of the summer games that are out there. And we're also having a special menu with barbecue type food, so it's going to be a good event. And we're looking forward to having it again this year. It's always been very successful. There's another group that we've also invited, which had been in a few other events that we've been at, which has brings ice cream, and then their proceeds go to helping kids with disabilities, and we're allowing them to come in, no charge. They keep all their sales, and they do with it whatever they will, whatever they normally do. So, and we love to work with other community partners. We partner with the community all the time. We invite other businesses to attend and be part of it also. And there'll be music. 2 different bands are playing during the time, and they're really well received at the brewery.
And it's right in the heart of the cultural district.
Exactly. It's a cultural event.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Just a big thank you again, Frank. Thanks for everything, for making this community so much more fun.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Craig?
I move to approve a one-day liquor license for Shoveltown Brewery Summerfest fundraiser, the rear lot of 50 Oliver Street, July 27th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. with a storm date, July 28th, 2024.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thanks, Frank. Thank you.
Okay, the next one, the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District Summer Concert Series Finale. This is going to be held at 3 Barrow Street, which is up in front of Oaks Ames Hall. Joan Lundgren has applied for a one-day beer and wine license for this event to be held at the Rockery and the area of Barrow Street from Lincoln to the library. While the Easton Police do not require a detail specifically for the issuance of this license, the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District plans to hire a detail for the event as a whole. Amy Rodriguez will be on the August 5th agenda seeking approval of a street closure, and we will review the public safety measures at that time. So I am chair of the Cultural District, so I can just share with you that we have 3 bands, Frank, 3 big bands, and 2 other musical performers. It's going to be from noon to 4, I think. Ish. It's in the afternoon, and we did it last year. We had hundreds of people from all over, so it was really fun. We're going to have lots of things for everyone to do. We have food trucks, ice cream trucks, a lot of activities. So definitely mark your calendar for September 22nd. So if there's no questions from the board, Craig?
Move to issue a permit for the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District Summer Concert Series Finale, 3 Barrel Street, September 22nd, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Second.
Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, one more. We have Shoveltown Basketball Club fundraiser at 3 Barrow Street, October 4th, 2024, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Kyle Agresta is requesting a one-day all-alcohol license for their fundraiser to be held at Oaks Ames Memorial Hall. No police detail is required. Joan Lundgren, she's not present. It says she was going to be present to ask questions about the event, but we could try to answer any questions that you have. Anyone from the board?
I'll just say that I know Kyle, and he's been doing a tremendous amount for youth basketball in town, including starting up an AAU program here, and really giving an opportunity for young athletes to not have to travel so far, and their families not have to travel so far. And he gives also private lessons and group lessons, and he's just been really active in helping to grow youth basketball in town. So, and he's also been a longtime Maplewood employee and served as a counselor there and worked. And that's when we got to know him at a very early age and early in his career. So along with being full-time employed elsewhere, he does this on the side.
Great, thank you. Anything else from the board? All right, Craig?
Move to issue a permit for a one-day liquor license to Shoveltown Basketball Club fundraiser, 3 Barrel Street, October 4, 2024, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. So let me just do a time check here. We have a couple more minutes. So we have an audit committee appointment, Patricia Coyne, with a term ending June 30th, 2026. We have an attached volunteer application submitted by Patricia Coyne for an open seat on the audit committee. And we do have the charge for this committee as well. Hang on one second. So the audit committee, the role of the audit committee shall serve as the advisor to the select board with respect to the town's financial management systems and controls and annual audit. In addition, the audit committee shall make an annual report to the town on matters within the scope of its jurisdiction. Specific duties shall include, but are not limited to the following. 1, make recommendations to the select board on the selection and scope of services for an independent auditor. 2, review the annual financial statements and management reports prepared by the independent auditor and make recommendations with respect thereto. 3, make recommendations for areas of operations where expanded scope audits or review of the internal controls may be appropriate. 4, review and make recommendations with respect to the town's financial management practices and controls through the town administrator. Review with appropriate boards and departments opportunities to improve such practices and controls. 5, report to the
You came here to.
Who's that?
That's the candidate.
Oh, okay. 5, report to the select board on the status of recommendations the committee and/or independent auditor has made during the preceding 12 months. And 6, submit a summary of their work for the preceding calendar for inclusion into the town's annual report. So it's an important committee because it does give us a set of checks and balances to just make sure that we're looking at every opportunity from every angle to continue to increase efficiency as we look at our financials. So we do have Patricia Coyne on Zoom.
She just doesn't have a video on yet.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize that. All right, Patricia, can you hear us?
Mute. Can you hear me yet?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thanks for being here with us tonight. We're going to just ask you to just very quickly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you wanted to be on the audit committee, and we're going to ask you to keep it under 2 minutes.
Sure. My name is Patricia Coyne. I've lived in Easton since 1971. My business background was in finance for a nonprofit corporation with considerable experience in doing audits that were required by the state. I am very interested in taking a more active role in the town of Easton and its government. And I thought that with my background, the audit committee would be one of the committees that I could be the most helpful to.
Great.
I
Well,
think that's about it.
we love to hear new people come forward. It brings a broader perspective to our boards and committees, so we thank you for volunteering to be on this committee. I think you'll learn a lot and be very interested to see the difference in municipal budgets and how that works compared to some of the other nonprofits or for-profits. And your experience should be a real value to that committee.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? No? Okay, Craig, do you have a motion?
To a move to appoint Patricia Coyne to the Audit Committee, the term ending June 30th, 2026.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb, and this is a roll call vote starting with Jamie.
Stebbins Coin.
Stacy Coin.
Lamb Coin.
Full Genetti Coin.
Bodger Coyne.
So congratulations. You will get an email from the town clerk with instructions. You have to get sworn in and when the meeting dates will be. So good luck on the committee.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night. All right, and we are magically right at 7 o'clock for the joint meeting with the Easton School Committee. So do we have, we have 3 people from the school committee. Do you want to come up and sit in those chairs?
Okay, sorry. Jamie, could you pass the questions?
Yes.
Thank you.
You have extra copies, okay.
So just to give a little bit of background for those that are watching at home, everyone in the room knows what we're here for. So we created a new committee and we solicited resident interest. The board from time to time has adjusted the number of seats in response to overwhelming application volume. And we're pleased to report that 15 citizens have volunteered for the Select Board and School Committee's consideration for appointment to the Promoting a Sustainable Easton. So that you'll see that referred to as PACE, P-A-S-E. The charge adopted at our meeting contemplated 4 at-large residents with 2 alternates. And given the volume of applicants, we're going to talk about what that looks like. Before we get too far into the details of that, now that the school committee is set up, I just want you to open your meeting and then introduce yourselves, and then we'll dig right in.
Alrighty, so welcome to the Easton School Committee meeting of Monday, July 15th, 2024. I imagine, Dottie, you've already covered all the hybrid, et cetera.
Yes.
Language. Okay. All right. Great. So we do not have any attendees. No board or committee members are attending remotely. So in person, we have Jennifer Starr, Kelly Percio, and Nancy DeLuca.
Excellent. So just as a little bit of a background on this, I am not going to read everything because it is in the packet and it's long, but the gist of this is that the town of Easton has grappled with a structural revenue deficit born out of the statutory limitations of Proposition 2.5, its status as a Chapter 70 minimum age school district, and the growth of fixed expenses at higher rates than reoccurring revenue. This has contributed to lean budgets producing below average staff levels compared to economically comparable communities and districts, and correspondingly lean operation budgets, proposals to town meeting to live within the town's revenue means. So in short, if we can only raise taxes 2.5% a year, and our health care coverage for our employees, which is about 3/4 of the budget, goes up 10%, and our utilities go up, and all of these non-fixed costs go up, then the only choice is to try to find new revenue somewhere, which means we continue to build and create new growth. We can raise licensing fees, we can raise insurance premiums. These are all like things that we don't necessarily want to do. So what we end up doing is we do great things, like we have energy aggregation where the town saves a lot of money, and we put solar, and then that money that we save goes to closing that budget gap, right? So you're constantly trying to just keep backfilling that gap, and eventually at some point you kind of run to the end of the road. So this is where we want to get real community involvement to come in and help understand these problems and help problem solve them and come up with some ideas for it. We care a lot about our services that we offer, and we care a lot about our employees and our staff and the unions, and we feel like this is a great opportunity for everybody to come together and kind of collaborate and come up with hopefully some good ideas about how to move forward for the next budget year, not wait till the night of town meeting or the week before to try to talk about some of that stuff. So is there anything else in here? The mission, PACE is charged with reviewing the town and school department staffing, programming, and overall operating positions, including a comparison to comparable communities, and making a report to the 2025 annual town meeting, along with any recommendations for any appropriate actions or remedial measures, all designed to facilitate the promotion of sustainable and quality services in the town of Easton. PACE is advisory in nature, but through collaborative and cooperative process, members will seek consensus on forecasts and strategies and will advocate for agreement within their respective boards, committees, or departments to the extent applicable in advance of any final presentation to the 2025 annual town meeting. Depending on feasibility, officials charged with related statutory responsibilities may incorporate the recommendations of the committee into their respective articles at town meeting. PACE's recommendations must balance the goals of quality service provision with financial benefits and impacts to the community, and also, in the alternative, must account for the programmatic and financial ramifications should the town fail to sustain public services at existing levels. PACE is expected to consult with and utilize the expertise of the town and school committee members appointed by the town meeting amendment, as well as other appropriate municipal and school officials, provided all requests to personnel are appropriately routed through the town administrator and superintendent and their designees. PACE will prioritize achievable policy and programmatic recommendations consistent with the limits of municipal finance laws, meaning we can't break the law when we're doing this. Some of our best ideas are not achievable that way. And relevant labor and collective bargaining law, and will take care to solicit feedback during the study process to inform assessments about policy feasibility and implementation capabilities of all parties involved. So the membership of this committee is the chair of the select board, the chair of the school committee, chair of the finance committee, town administrator, superintendent of schools, Town of Easton Finance Director for the schools, 2 members of the Easton Educators Association to be appointed by the union. Oh, I thought that said 64. We're going to talk, it says, it originally is 4 residents at large to be appointed by the select board and school committee. We're going to talk about changing that to 6 residents because we've had such overwhelming, and then adding 2 resident alternates to be appointed by the select board to the school committee. Although not a prerequisite of serving on the committee, residents who've demonstrated professional education or personal experience relating to finance, operations, management, programming, and other fields relevant to the committee's charge are encouraged to apply. All full members shall be voting members, and alternate members may attend all meetings but may only vote when full members are not present. In order to fulfill the mission of the committee, members should anticipate a robust meeting schedule. This group is going to meet a lot, and it's going to be a lot of work. Likely no less frequently than monthly, with some months having multiple meetings if necessary, to keep pace with the town's fiscal year schedule in preparation for annual town meeting in May of 2025. Meetings are expected to be in hybrid format to provide flexibility for voting members, but may occasionally require in-person meeting attendance depending on hybrid meeting rooms available. So the terms will be from appointment through June 30th, 2025, and PACE shall determine their own chair and vice chair via a vote at their first meeting. Vacancies and reappointments, if necessary, shall be eligible for reappointment by the select board and the school committee. PACE is a public body subject to Massachusetts open meeting law, and it's anticipated the meetings will primary but not exclusively be in 2 formats. detailed information reviews of financial, operational, programmatic data, and analytical reports by the members, along with related discussion of the data and their implications for fulfillment of the committee charge, kind of like a workshop. And then a summary of public presentation and feedback sessions, which are more tailored to specifically cover high-level critical takeaways for the community and to solicit feedback on the same. While both meeting types will be open to the public, the priority of the former will be detailed review and deliberation by committee members, and the latter is going to be for more of public engagement. So if PACE determines it would be beneficial to expand the meeting offerings to include charrettes or other community planning activities in order to secure a broad section of residents, businesses, public employees, and retirees and other community members to provide input and comment during the process, it may do so by a vote of the committee. So the goals and responsibilities and timelines are in here. I'm just going to read the headlines on it. Identifying a consensus baseline, trend analysis and comparative evaluation, summary of existing position and outlook, recommendations for appropriate actions or remedial measures to address financial, operating, and programmatic deficiencies and challenges, and a draft report of the recommendations. And then finally, a final report for town meeting. So I think this is a really exciting committee. I am thrilled that we had so many people interested. We have before really gone all out when we've had big response and say, let's appoint all 15 people. And then what happens is people they're not able to go or they're not able to stay with it and we can't reach a quorum. So I think what we want to propose is to change it from 4 to 6 with the 2 alternates. So that will give us 8 members, of the public versus 4. So I think that's a pretty good compromise. Do we want to vote on that first, Connor, before we?
Yes, the select board and school committee would need to before you consider it. And just to clarify, there was already 2 alternates, so this doesn't double the amount of residents. You had 4 at large, full time, for lack of a better word. I will not try to keep you all at town hall 40 hours a week. Some weeks that might happen, but you had 4 full members, 2 alternates, so this would just up the full to 6.
Okay.
Which is consistent with the town meeting vote that said a minimum of 4.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'm going to start on your end, Nancy, and work our way around. Are you in support of that accommodation,
6?
changing to 6?
I like the 64 myself, but
That's because you're a teacher and you have a good classroom voice.
I like that. Yes, I'm in favor of this.
Okay. Any comments going around this way?
I have not seen a committee this large before, so I'm a little bit concerned about the high number of participants. I think it could get complicated. So I'll defer to others on it.
Okay.
I'd say I don't feel strongly either way. Not really. I'm not opposed to it, but not strongly advocating either to expand. So I just want to make sure that we have a functional committee with the right number of people to be productive and have members who are highly qualified and engaged. So that's my goal. If it's 4 or 6 plus 2 alternates, I'm neutral on that.
Okay.
I'm for 6, and there's a lot of strong. There's some amazing people here tonight, and on this list. So it's going to be very difficult to even pick the 6 from this group of 15. So thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
I'm also in favor of 6. I think, similar to Jamie, that there's a lot of great perspectives that are brought to the table with this pool of potential representatives. So I think it'd be great to leverage that.
I'm in favor of 6.
Okay.
I'm in favor of 6.
I'm also in favor of 6. So does somebody want to make a motion?
I move that we move the number of at-large residents from 4 to 6.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so that's unanimous. All right, we can move on from there. So what we're going to do, because we have so many people, is I'm going to ask people to come forward to the microphone. I'm going to do it alphabetically. And we have 3 questions that we're going to ask everybody. So the first question is, tell us about yourself and why you want to be on the PACE committee. The second one is, do you have any experience you feel particularly suits being on the committee based on its charge? And 3, the time commitment on PACE is likely to be substantial. Are you going to be available for regular meetings beginning in August and running through next May? And as Connor said, they'll be at least once a month, but usually as you get into budget season, they may be a little bit more than that. So it is a commitment. What I do want to say is if that is a barrier to anybody, we appreciate people letting us know that up front, because if we have problems meeting a quorum and we can't meet, it's really going to be very difficult to keep this committee going. I also do want to say that it is a public meeting, and people are welcome to come to these meetings and participate and have public comment. So, you know, just because you don't vote, that doesn't mean that your voice can't be heard. I would also encourage people, even if you can't follow these meetings by Zoom or in person, to watch them later and submit your questions to the committee so that they can. There's so many ways to get involved, and I get that people are busy and sometimes it's hard to do it. You can listen to it on your headphones while you're making dinner or doing something, and then you can drop an email the next day to the committee. So.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think a school committee member has joined remotely, so if they are available, we will try to put them on screen, and if so, we would just need to have them acknowledge their participation. If they can't participate, that is okay. They don't need to move into the panel.
I believe they're joining as a non-participant.
Okay.
All right.
And then I believe in front of everyone there should be a roster of the candidates. We have, I don't know if it's 50-50. We have some folks here in person, some on Zoom. The first candidate alphabetically was not able to attend tonight, but still wish to be considered.
So that means we have one, and we had one candidate withdraw, so we have 13 people. So what I would ask is, if everybody takes 10 minutes, we're going to be here till midnight. So what I would ask is that people just be very concise. And I'll repeat the questions before everyone starts, just to refresh you. And I'd ask you to try to keep it to 2 minutes. We did this a couple of weeks ago with some interviews, and I called it like speed dating. So I don't want to rush anybody, but I also wanted to be respectful of everybody's time. So with that, Christopher Aker is the first person who is not able to be here tonight, but I do want to just give some information about him. Chris Aker is the police officer. His relevant experience is he's the current police officer and the school resource officer, and he's the national vice president of a veterans charity. He can bring the perspective of the police and schools to the table. So for people who know that. And then next up, we have Mark Brockman. So Mark, come on up. So your first question is, tell us about yourself and why you want to be on PACE.
I've been president of town for 45 years. I guess I'm now considered a senior citizen of the town. I've worked on a number of committees throughout the years, from Town Accountant Search Committee, which was Wendy, and she's still here. And
good job.
And a Principal Search Committee. I've been on the old school building and site committee. Also on the Municipal Building Committee, been a member of the School Committee. I was on Capital Planning for a number of years, chairman for 1 year. Excuse me. Also, I've been in business for 18 years, educator for 22 years, the last 10 of which I was the assistant principal at Olive Ames High School. I worked on the budgets and understand where and how, and going back to foundation budget of the state and not being able to get the money that we've always wanted to. So I've got the time. I'm retired now, and I would enjoy being on the committee.
Okay. So the second part of that was, do you have any experience you feel particularly suits being on the committee? And I think you've kind of outlined that.
I can answer that, I hope, yeah.
And then also the time commitment. Do you have the time to be able to commit to these?
Every day Saturday, as I guess. So, yeah,
Lucky
the time, I do have the time.
Okay, so these, I presume, will be evenings, and the committee will pick which night works for the best for the group. So.
That's fine.
All
No
right.
problem.
Well, great. Thank you so much for being
Thank you.
here, and we
Thanks for your
appreciate
time.
your interest.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Tom Broussard. Tom, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Great to be here.
for
Thanks for the
being here.
opportunity. 3 questions. So a little bit about myself, for those that don't know, but started involvement at the Finance Committee here several years ago, made it to the Select Board after that. On the Select Board was the chair of the Budget Subcommittee, and I'm currently the chair of the Community Preservation Committee in town. In terms of relevant experience, this charge actually hits the sweet spot of what I do professionally. So I help organizational leaders of all sizes understand the financial and economic impacts of their operational decision making. And I also help them understand what the impacts will be to their organization of those operational changes if they're made. So it's really trying to help people understand all the dynamics that impacts, whether it's the team, whether it's the organization, whether it's externally, our residents, for example, and then quantify that financially, what that impact means, and help people appreciate the options that they have. The only other experience that I would put is that the budget subcommittee, when I chaired it, we were actually, just before COVID, ready to launch a report that actually spoke to this. It's part of the budget subcommittee's charge to understand what the challenges or opportunities are coming up for Easton financially, and to come up with recommendations for how to address them. And right before COVID, after, as everybody has pointed out, many years of understanding the structural deficit, revenue deficit, that we were about to approach the select board and FinCom with our findings and our recommendations. So we were challenged then. Credit to everybody for incredible stewardship to get us here. But I think that challenge still exists, and it's a great opportunity now for us to try to address it.
Excellent.
Time commitment. So did this before, understand what it takes. It's not easy. It was a 27 to 30 page presentation we prepared. But it was comprehensive. It took into assessment the needs of the school, of the town side, and we were looking to get resident feedback. So I think that this committee actually packages it well. If we don't bring the residents of our community along with us on this journey, it's going to be a very difficult communication flow if we get to town meeting and we haven't educated people about what we're trying to accomplish and got their feedback to help guide the decisions that we might recommend.
Yep, and it should be very different and interesting because while some of the themes are the same, it's a different world since COVID. So
I think that's a great point. Just because we did do that exercise before, that doesn't mean that information is appropriate for the answer now. You have to start fresh for exactly the reason that you pointed out. Time has passed and circumstances have changed.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right. Jocelyn Byers is going to be on Zoom.
We are in the process of promoting her now.
She's with us now.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Hi, Jocelyn. We can hear you and see you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Great,
So,
thank you.
I will give you the 3 questions. I'm not sure if you heard what we were
I
doing
did.
before, but just introduce yourself and tell us why you'd like to be on the committee.
Sure. So those are tough acts to follow. I feel like I have very different experience, and I'm interested in this committee as a mother in the community. I have lived in Easton since 2020, so I actually moved here during the pandemic, so not too long. I've lived in both Massachusetts and Indiana. I just paused a 10-year career with Johnson & Johnson, just became a mom about 6 months ago, and I'm looking for community involvement. Specifically, I was interested with this committee around education. I also have 2 stepsons that have grown up in Easton, so they have, I hear a lot about the schools. I do a lot of school drop-offs, and I feel like I'm involved in the community, and it just interested me in that, bettering the education and community and being a part of that.
Terrific. What kind of experience do you feel particularly suits being on the committee based on the charge?
Yeah, so I also have my MBA. I come to this with more of a business background. I have experience with data and analytics and research. I got my MBA from Boston University last year. I guess if I was to think of something more specific, I have managed budgets and all that, but also voice of customer. I have a lot of experience with that. If there was opportunity to go out and research and speak to people and gather information, I'm very strong in that area.
Excellent. And the time commitment?
Yes, time commitment. So as I mentioned, I've paused my career, stay-at-home mom. I have very supportive family and friends, and I've already thought about that and feel comfortable with it.
Okay, terrific. And I think being able to do this by Zoom gives people a lot of flexibility. So hopefully that's.
But I'm very sad I'm not there in person. I'm in South Carolina on vacation. Otherwise, I would have been there.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. So if you don't want to watch the whole rest of it and while you're on vacation, if you are appointed to the committee, you would get an email from the town clerk with information and instructions on getting sworn in. So
Okay.
we will send you an email tonight, letting you know. I'll send you
Okay.
that to let you know.
Well, thank you for your consideration.
All right. Thank you. All right. Next we have Nancy Donahue. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, how are you? I'm Nancy Donahue, and I thank you very much for your opportunity to be considered for this committee. I've been a resident of Easton for 29 years. I've raised 2 daughters who have gone through the school system and are both now educators, I truly believe, because of the excellent role modeling that they got from staff and teachers and the programs and activities in the Easton Public Schools. Prior to my 20-year career with the Easton Public Schools as a science teacher, I had a career with State Street Company in financial services. So my background in finance and budgeting and data analysis includes work at State Street, work as a department head in the schools, and I'm also have been on the library board for 10 years, currently serving as president. So, working with town resources, and thank the town also for all the resources that they do to support the library. I just recently retired from Easton Public Schools, so I have quite a bit of capacity now to do a little bit of extra work and looking forward to really staying part of the schools. I plan to sub in the schools. I support the schools. It's just been a wonderful experience. And my goal is really twofold, not only to be part of a solution to what I think is a big and important challenge in town, but also to learn about what other similar towns are doing and to maybe do some work at the state level, if possible, to sort of help those formulas that we hear about that are not so conducive to towns like ours that really fall in between some of those funding and the other kind of resources that we get. So,
all right. And so the time commitment is not a challenge to you either.
Looking forward to something else to do. Yes.
Excellent. Well, your retirement is short-lived. You're jumping right back in again.
I hope so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
All right. Cindy Hall is on Zoom.
She's in the process of being promoted.
Promoting now.
You're doing a great job, Sean. This is like the first night we've had like real big participation on Zoom.
Cindy is here. She's just, I can ask her about it.
Hi. So I'm technologically challenged, so I'm not sure you can see me or hear me. I know you can hear me.
We can hear you. We can't see you. If you want to look down at the bottom of your screen, you'll probably see a little video camera. If you click that.
Oh, Dottie, you're so smart.
There
everyone.
You are. So welcome, Cindy. Tell us about yourself and tell us why you'd like to be on this committee.
So I am a retired Easton teacher. It's a theme today. And I was also the president of the Easton Educators Association for about 5 years. I followed Nancy DeLuca. And I have been retired for about 4 years, and I would like to become more involved in my community. I'm a lifelong resident of Easton, and I would just appreciate the opportunity to understand more things that happen in the town.
Okay. And with your experience, is there anything in particular that you feel will strongly suit, besides the experience of the things you're doing, is there anything in particular that you want to add that you think will help you with the committee?
Well, as president, I was involved in all the negotiations. I led the committees to negotiate new contracts with the teachers, and so I have an understanding about how wonderful the Easton teachers are and the schools as a whole, and I would want to continue to support that.
Excellent. And as you're retired, I presume you have time also?
Lots of time. Well, not lots, but enough.
All these retirees, so jealous. All right, well, thank you, Cindy. We appreciate you being here tonight. Again, you're welcome to stay watch the rest of it, but it looks like you might be having something more fun in mind, and we will let you know the results by email?
I'm actually working in Hartford, so no, I'm not having as much fun as others. But
All right. Well, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for throwing your hat in the ring.
thanks for your consideration.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have James Hamilton. James here? Hi, James.
Hi, Jim. I just have to point out, this is my new neighbor. So
Really?
very excited because the property was built out. This was, it's a new home in town too. So great, Jim. I had no idea you were here tonight.
I was thinking about texting you, but I didn't know if that would be a conflict of
Inappropriate?
interest or something. So.
So Birch, if you didn't say hi already too.
Well, thank you for being here tonight.
Of course, thank you.
So you know the three questions. Introduce yourself and just tell us why you'd like to be on the committee.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is James Hamilton. I am a recent homeowner / new taxpayer in the town of Easton, but I actually grew up here. I graduated OA from the class of 2011. I can actually recognize some of the teachers I had in the room throughout my career, so that would be interesting to potentially work with all of you in this capacity. A little bit more about me. I currently don't have any children in the school system or anything like that. I know that's a bit of the focus of this committee, but I attribute so much of my personal success to the Easton Public Schools. And as a new citizen, taxpayer, potentially almost lifelong resident with a slight asterisk for a few years, thought this would be a really perfect opportunity as someone who hopes to have children in the Easton school system and grow and raise a family in Easton to contribute to the town in a potentially new committee where I could hopefully have a lot of impact and provide a lot of my services and skills to the town.
Excellent. And you have the time to avail yourself?
Yes, unfortunately, I guess I'm not retired yet, but yes, I do work remote, so I am in Easton full-time, so there's no risk of like a long commute or something unless I'm traveling for work, which is relatively rare, but I'm flexible to make the meetings.
All right, great. Well, thanks for being so new or new-ish back to the community again and being interested to volunteer for this important committee.
Perfect.
Dottie,
Thank you
if
so
I
much.
could, before Jim goes, just a little bit about your technical, what you do, right? So folks know what it is what skill set you would bring to
Sure, and yeah, and I didn't know how to prepare. I did bring resumes, but I currently work, or I have worked for about 10 years in software implementations. I currently work actually in a software that trains manufacturers in aerospace and defense, chemical manufacturing, automobile manufacturing in how to train those employees in on-the-job skills, which is something that, the United States as manufacturing has gone overseas, has lost a lot of those skills, and a lot of employees are starting to retire, and a lot of these companies are losing those skills. So the focus right now is a real effort to scale up and digitize those skills and digitize how you train employees for the next generation before all of those skills are potentially lost.
Wow, that's super interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
Thank you, James.
All right, Darlene Hannigan.
Hello. I'm Darlene Hannigan. I am a resident, have lived in Easton since 1993. Raised my 3 children here. I was a teacher in the Easton Public Schools for 35 years. Again, student, children, and currently retired. So this is my 2nd year off, so I have, again, some time to spend. I served on the EEA for many years, took part in negotiations, and I'm currently the retiree liaison for the Easton Educators Association. So my connections with the teachers and with the board of directors for that union is still pretty vibrant at this point. I have always wanted to do a little bit more, I guess, for the town, but as a teacher, felt as though I didn't want to, double dip or use my teaching status to influence people one way or another. So in this regard, it gives me the opportunity to come about and kind of participate a little bit more now that I don't have that role.
Excellent. And you have the time.
I do have the time.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Good to see you here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dottie.
Next, we have Elise Herrig, and she is on Zoom.
She is rejoining now. She's unmuted.
Hi, I'm gonna start my video too. Hi.
Hi, Elise. Thanks for being here tonight. So,
Thank you guys. My name's Elise. I know the questions. I'm good to go if you want.
Awesome. By the time we get to the end, everybody's like, all right, we know.
I'm Elise Herrig. I'm a new resident in Easton, but I grew up in neighboring Sharon, so I'm very familiar with the area. I'm a school adjustment counselor. I'm a social worker by training and been working in the schools for the past 5 years. So I think that part of the experience I would bring is really seeing that kind of on the ground, what the impacts are when there are kind of budget shifts. I work with a population of students that oftentimes is in that kind of higher resourced within the school system, and where there's also requirements. I work with a lot of students who receive services through special education, which is, you know, if we determine that this is what the child needs, there's a kind of fixed budget cost sometimes associated with that. I've also, as a social worker, I oftentimes work with a population of students that I'm working to kind of prevent the need for out-of-district placements, which are typically a higher cost, and try to do more preventative work with families, you know, within the school system to service students and to meet student needs. So I think that that kind of perspective would be something that I'd be hoping to bring as part of the board. I don't work in Easton, but it would also be an opportunity for me to contribute to this town, and I'm expecting to raise kids here who will attend the Easton Public Schools, and I want to be a part of that. So I think that that would be a good perspective. Because I work the school schedule, I am free in the evenings and flexible, and happy to be a part of the, you know, this team of having the community involved, because I think that's really key to have that feedback too.
Great. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to join us, and we will let you know our decision.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next, we have Denise Higgins. Denise, come on up.
Hi, Denise Higgins. I'll start off with 3. No, I do not have time. This is a daunting task, and I'm up for the challenge only because I think it's really important. I don't think that, other than some of the retired people, that a business person has enough time, but I will start by number 3, telling you that I will give you my entire commitment. I've lived in town for since 1985. I've raised my children here. I guess I'll skip to a little bit of number 2 and say that my formal background is I do have a degree in education, and I did start off as a teacher. It wasn't before long that I became disenchanted with the field and moved into business. The reason why I'm here is because I bring an entirely different flavor from what you heard before, in that I would like to bring part of the town element into this, and sometimes ask the hard questions that need to be asked, and to give some real good accountability where it needs to be. I started asking when I was in Citizens Academy about the Chapter 70 money. I know that the town is going to be faced with a lot of questions about maybe a potential override, maybe a very tough budget that we're facing, some really tough things. For example, we have the emergency facility that's coming on board, and how these are going to all kind of try to merge. I find that some citizenry in town is asking some of the questions of, can I just say this, like normalized people. That's kind of like where I am. I'm not in the school committee. I am not in a board. I am working from the outside in. That's where I find my most benefit. And I'll keep that to 2 minutes if you have any questions. Did I hit all 3?
You did.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
And Brian Joyce, he is on Zoom.
So I don't have anyone named Brian Joyce, but I do have someone that's iPad 28. So Brian, if that's you, can you please raise your hand?
So why don't we go to the next candidate, and if the iPad is Brian Joyce, if they could raise their hand in the Zoom, we could come back. If
Yep.
the committee and board are okay with that.
Or send a note through the Q&A to
Sure.
Sean. Okay, we are going to come back to Brian. Next, we have Christopher Cohn.
Good evening.
Good to see you.
Yes, I am a retired teacher. I was a speech pathologist in a neighboring, in Weymouth, actually, for 32 years. And then I spent 5 years doing long-term subbing in various communities, actually Foxborough and in Weymouth as well. But I also did early intervention, 0 to 3, and I did VNA with children. So after age 21, I would work with them. And I did teach at the Eastern Nazarene College. I did teach linguistics as well for a very short time. But also what I can bring, the reason why I came here is because you invited me because of my experience with the town. So I didn't teach in Easton, but I was the chair. I was on the planning board from 1986 to 2007, and chairman for I think at least the last 10 years. And because of that, I was also on the capital planning. I was also on CPA. So I was the planning board representative to the CPA when the CPA first started. But I also was the second chairman for the committee that built the Olmsted Richardson building. So I was the one who brought to town meeting the $1.2 million approval to do the architectural renderings and all that in order to build the school. And so I am retired, so every day is a Saturday except for Sunday. I heard somebody say that here. But I am very impressed with the number of people that you have here that's come forward. It's not like I'm looking for more work with the town. I forgot to say that I was also on the most recent master plan as well. So I was a part of that, the master plan. So what I can bring, if it's of importance to you, is I can bring together not only education but special needs, because I wrote more than 3,000 IEPs. I was involved in many of those meetings, state and, well, anyhow. And I've also dealt with many issues with the town as well about development planning, population, and things like that. So that's
Great.
it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Is Brian back? Did he identify? No. Chris Mills. Hello, Chris.
Hi, everyone. My name's Chris Mills. I am a current firefighter paramedic here in Easton. I'm married with 3 kids. My wife also works for the schools. I sit on several boards and committees within this town. Some of the more important ones would be I'm the chair of the Board of Health. I was the chair for the Insurance Advisory Committee when the town switched from Blue Cross and joining the GIC, which was one of the largest changes this town has seen with hopeful cost savings that came with it. I also have 2 small businesses in town. What I can bring to this committee would be, it kind of dovetails with why I wanted to be on this committee. I go to every town meeting. After this last town meeting, what I noticed was there seemed to be some animosity, and to me it was a lack of transparency, or what seemed thereof. And I would hate to see, if there is a need for an override, for it not to go through because of mistrust or lack of transparency. I can appreciate lack of people being able to afford it, but for somebody to say no because they don't trust or they don't understand or they don't believe is upsetting to me, which is why I'd like to be part of this committee. I have mixed feelings about a lot of what goes on, but I think that's actually good because I kind of bringing a different perspective, different age group to this committee, which is why I'd like to be on it.
Excellent. And do you have the time?
I have a lot of time. Well, I have a lot of time for this.
All right. Thank you. Or I guess the question is, will you make the time, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, nobody has the time, but we make the time for things. Okay. And next we have Crystal Parento, and she is on Zoom.
Is rejoining now.
Hello.
Hi, Crystal. Thanks for being here tonight. We can hear you.
Okay,
And see
great.
you.
So I'm Crystal Parento. I've been a resident in Easton for 10 years, and I wish I could be there tonight, but I decided to be selfish and not spread my germs, keep them for myself.
Thank you.
So that's why I'm at home today. So I have 3 kids in the Easton Public Schools, a junior, a freshman, and then a 6th grader. So I've kind of experienced all the schools. And a real passion of mine is seeing the schools kind of get what they need. And, you know, I've been following kind of the finances of the school over the years, and I think I somewhat understand the issues that it's had over the years. And of course, since the school budget is such a big portion of the town budget, it's all interconnected. So trying to come up with some solutions of how we can make Easton have the funding that they need for different things is really something that I'm passionate about. I'm also interested in learning more about town finances overall. Experience. So my background is in publishing. I have really good writing and editing skills, which I think could maybe be beneficial when you have to write reports, providing the information to everybody. Also research skills. And then, like Denise said, I would say I don't have a problem asking hard questions. But I think I also am good at, once I get the answers to those hard questions, really thinking about what those answers were, and not just like looking at it from my perspective, but looking at it from other people's perspectives. And then let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say. I think that's it for my experience. I do have a question about the time commitment, because I want to make sure I do have the time to commit to this. I'm the type of person who, like, when I go into something, I give my all. So I need to understand a bit more about what that time commitment is. So, like, how long do the meetings, these types of meetings, generally last? And I do understand, given that there's different deadlines and such, that there might be some months that are heavier than others. But, like, how long does an average meeting last?
Well, it's hard to tell because we haven't done this yet, but I will tell you I expect these meetings to be fairly long in the beginning, not like, town meetings, but, municipal budgeting is very different, even if people have worked on regular budgets for their business, profit or nonprofit. I think that the challenge in the beginning is going to be to bring everybody up to the same, level of understanding of a lot of the nuances of this, so that when it moves forward, people will kind of be in the same knowledge range, you know what I mean? Some people already know about this and are very well versed, and some people probably need a little bit of extra on that. So it will depend on, how the group, who's in the group, and how quickly that moves forward. Learning about the budget process takes some time, so there's going to be some nuts and bolts education in the beginning, and then as it gets into budget season, it'll be really tackling, like the bullet points that I read earlier, looking at the baselines. There's going to be, some data that's collected. There's that type of a thing. So what my experience is in a new committee, the first couple of meetings, couple to few meetings, can feel a little bit challenging depending on what your perspective is. But to put the time in the upfront moving forward is very valuable. As you get into budget season, if it's once a month, I'm just going to say 3 hours a meeting. Do you think that that's a...
I don't want to say at least and scare everyone away. But I would expect that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially and depending on, some of this is hard for the board of a committee to answer, because as Dottie said, we haven't done it before, but depending on the direction where this goes with the committee, depending on how much additional detail, follow-up the committee may want, you may have some meetings go multiple hours. And I do think it feels like May town meeting 2025 is so far away. No one knows, I think, more than I do, that that's actually very, very soon. And so we really would need to get to work in August. And as the charge said, I would expect at least monthly meetings, and in some cases, multiple, especially depending on where the committee is with its deliverables. If I could, Dottie, that said, with one of the benefits of a larger committee, you need a majority of members there, but it's not as if even for the select board or the school committee, people do have careers, they have families, they have other commitments. If you occasionally miss a meeting, you don't get a termination notice from the town the very next morning. So
Okay.
Yeah, but it is a heavier lift than most. So if I think I'm saying it realistically, but again, even if somebody is not on the committee, you can come to the meetings you can come to. You can still participate. Input is really valued. Before I was on any board, or I started on the select board, but before that, I was not on any committees, and I went to zoning board meetings all the time, planning board meetings. Some people thought I was on the committees because I showed up at so many of the things, and my voice was always heard, and I was always included in everything. So I expect that will be the kind of feeling that will happen with this committee, because unfortunately, we can only pick 6. And we have 14. So just keeping that in mind. Oh, I think you're frozen.
She froze.
Bristol, I don't know if you can hear us, but you're frozen. But you're frozen with a good expression.
I know, very impressive.
I never have that look.
Most people are frozen like, ah. All right, can you type her through the queue?
I just moved her over to Joanna.
Okay.
Or she dropped off, either one.
Okay. All right, well, I hope you don't think that we hung up on you.
She's back.
Okay. Oh, there you are.
Just muted.
Hi, I'm so sorry.
That's okay, you froze for a second.
So I took way more than 2 minutes, but that was that's what I was expecting. But I didn't want to answer that I had the time to do that without actually really understanding. So yes, I have the time to commit to that. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And we are going to start our deliberations.
The interviews made a hard decision harder, so.
So I guess obviously this is not going to be easy because every candidate has such strong skill sets in so many different areas. I think one of the things that I want to say, and then I'll turn it over to Jen, is so while this feels that it's very focused on the schools, and it is because the schools are about 3/4 of our budget because they have the most staff and the biggest part of the budget, it also has to balance with the town side too. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important that we have that perspective. And I also don't want to be in a vacuum where everybody kind of has, we all agree on the same thing. I like a little bit of spicy, outsider, like somebody said, not necessarily the typical perspective. I think if everybody is rowing in the same direction out of the gate, we're not going to come up with something that is probably the most robust ideas. That doesn't mean that I don't want people to participate, though. So that's just my thoughts, the way I'm looking at it. Jen?
I agree. I think obviously I'm a huge advocate for school representation on this committee. But keeping in mind we have myself, the superintendent, the finance director, plus 2 members who will be assigned by the Easton Educators Association. So I do think it's really important that we have varying perspectives, have perspectives of folks from other departments, if possible, and keeping in mind that the results of this work have to be informative and make sense to the voters. So the voting base is much, much larger than just, this school community. The school community is a large community, but it's not the whole community. So I want to be very mindful of that we do need to reach out. And then I also want to say, I'm really encouraged by the number of folks who are new to Easton or volunteering newly to committees. I think it's really wonderful. A lot of us up here started off being appointed to other boards or committees versus the ones that we were elected into, and it's a really wonderful way to kind of dip your toe
into community involvement, and I'm very, very encouraged by the response to this and the variety of folks who came forward to volunteer their service. It's really, really remarkable. So thank you to everybody. And if you don't end up getting appointed to one of the positions, please stay involved in the project. Look for other volunteer opportunities, and we welcome working with you into the future in a formal or informal way.
Do any of the other board members want to make a comment before we start to deliberate?
I just, as the current chair of the budget subcommittee, Tom's comments earlier really resonated with me about how the work the budget subcommittee is doing. I remember back when we were working through the right before COVID moment, and I think that this now really reflects the current need, and this is the secret sauce, is this balanced perspective that comes from bringing a group like this together, and the thoughtful commentary I heard today and how I think that'll help drive this. So I'm really excited about this and the outcome of this. I think it's really critical right now. So thank you all.
Nancy or Kelly?
So how do we start? Where to start?
I was just thinking about it because I think each one of us maybe has gone through and chosen 6, right? Is there a way that we just see where we maybe tell me how we've done it in the past, but is it tabulate?
You can do straw polls, so to speak, so that we don't have Elizabeth quit by you doing 15 successive rounds of votes on all candidates, and see prior to making a motion and an appointment to verbally identify these and maybe see if there are certain folks who are clearly in a majority favor, if that makes sense. And then we could kind of just keep track for you. And you could go through it that way as a long, super comfortable discussion with all of them watching you. And if
I know this isn't awkward.
If you get to a consensus, you could then adopt the slate at the end. That may be, from a motion perspective, easiest. And selfishly for us, again, there is an even number of you. So the possibility of split votes exists. So we'll defer to the 2 chairs, but that may be a way that you could do it. You could go through, verbally discuss it, straw poll, and see if there's perhaps consensus on whether it's 1, 2, 6, et cetera, candidates, and then vote slates, or perhaps there's consensus on 2, and then you fight out the other 4.
Did you have something you want to say, Mark?
So do we just start at the top of the list and start going down with names? And if you are supporting that person, just mention you support. Obviously, don't make it too long because we'll be here until tomorrow.
I don't know. Does that feel comfortable to the board, or do we want to start with a?
It all feels uncomfortable.
Or we just, what I might do is give you the first name I've chosen on my list.
Great idea.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
I think talking about it by skill set and what we're looking for in people is probably like identifying that skill set in the person.
Yes.
What comes to mind first for whoever on the committee, school or select board just has an idea. Throw out a name.
Great. All right. So I'd be happy to start.
Well, excuse me, I liked Mark's idea rather than doing it that way.
I feel like that way, then it's like if it's not somebody that is well supported for whatever reason, it makes it more uncomfortable to me.
It's very uncomfortable, no matter how we do it, from my perspective.
It just, because there may not need to be a discussion for, not everyone was here tonight. That's one. So the reason I'm, asking that we choose from our list, each person could start then.
Excuse me, Donnie, would it be, I know it's an open meeting, but would it be easier if we left?
No, we
recorded and
yeah.
I understand that.
Chris, if you guys could all go like this. No, I'm only kidding. No, I don't mean to say, we're all adults, right? And we're here, we're elected to make decisions, and we make tough decisions all the time. So I don't mean it like that, but I also want to be sensitive to people's feelings, and I just don't want to be, I want to be thoughtful in the way that we approach it, because truly everybody that is here tonight is amazing and brings incredible skill sets and experience. So I just want to make it as seamless as possible.
I was third choice of 3 when I went for my appointments, and I'm here, so it's all good.
If I could, if Mark's approach is taken, it's not going to be formal. We could just take a tally as everyone goes around
Yeah.
alphabetically, and then we'll then answer back to you. These are the folks who got a majority. Yes, I'm going to trust all of you to pick 6. And you could at least identify where the alignment is and then deal with everyone else not to be so close.
So you say the name, you just raise your hand
So
if you were in
so
support of
we're
that
all going to
person.
pick 6?
Yeah, so pick
all
your
right.
si- pick
Give me
your
a
6
minute
and
because
two
I don't
alternates.
have my 6.
May I just
Sorry,
ask
Kelly,
Sorry, can I ask 2 clarifying questions? One is, we are not determining who the alternates are, the committee is, or we determine the alternates?
You will also
No,
determine the
we'll
alternates.
determine
so
the
that's
alternates.
another.
Okay.
So if somebody doesn't get a majority of the 2 boards' votes, but they're the clear runner-up, they can be an alternate. But so no, I think Mark, what you were suggesting is we would say Aker, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes.
Yeah,
no.
or just raise your
and
hand
then
and-
Brockman and go through, and we'll just tally it.
And you see who's the top 6, and then
work out from there.
Talk
I
about.
don't love that. I like the deliberation part of it personally because I hear perspectives that actually help me formulate a better perspective. But then I don't know. Maybe that's a biased way of doing it.
No,
but-
it's not. It's a great way. I'm just thinking there's 14 people.
And just
Sorry,
to,
one more clarifying question, if I may. Who withdrew? May I know that? 'Cause-
Kelly Lamb.
Okay, thank you. I just wasn't clear, and we do not know what happened to our iPad and Mr. Joyce, correct?
Oh, right. So,
well, the other one
so
would be
Mr.
Brian Joyce, right?
Right, that's what I was just trying to understand when we discussed Ken.
So you know what, you bring up a good point though. What I'm going to do is, hold on a second, I'm just going to read his information.
And Dottie, just while you're locating that, I just want to tell everyone too, this is, to me, this isn't that difficult because, and it's been said here multiple times, we thank everyone for coming out. And just because you may not have one of the spots on this committee, there are so many volunteer opportunities and so many other committees. And we hope this has opened your eyes, probably when you went out and filled out the application, to all the unfilled, or even the ones we were filling tonight. And we have to continue to do after this is done. So there's so many opportunities, and this is a room full of wonderful people. Yes, tough to make a decision, but we'll make it, and then we hope you come back out and serve on another board or committee. So thank you.
Yeah, so Brian Joyce, his occupation is municipal. His relevant education and experience is master's in public administration. His prior experience on town boards and committees is cemetery committee, and his pertinent skills and talents are public administration. So just so that people are aware of that skill set.
Where did we land?
I think we're going to just go down the list then, and we're all just going to kind of yes, no it. And if you, I just circled who I think my 6 are. If just make sure you have 6.
Yep, I knew that.
6 people that you're considering.
So if Dottie, that's what you'd like to do, I could read the last names. People can just do show of hands, we'll tally it, and then the board can still deliberate and change those votes based on the deliberation. I think that's a good
Sounds great.
consensus. Yes, okay. All right, Aker.
So, sorry, I need one last second to
Yep.
finish my list. Not to be difficult.
And everyone has the names now, right? Dottie, everyone has a list in front of them.
Yeah.
Do you have this list in front of you?
We have that. We have a list.
They have the roster
Yeah.
of all the applicants.
Right here.
Oh, yeah, it's in the agenda.
I think we should change the number to 14. This is just too hard. I know everybody on this list.
Well, all 14 can come
You always know.
to the meeting.
I know, I'm sorry.
That's like a trait I've learned very quickly. Okay. Great. Thank you. Sorry.
All right, we're ready?
Yes.
Okay, so straw poll for Aker. 1, 2. This is like being moderated. It's fun. 1, 2, 3. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Straw poll for Brockman. Okay. Straw poll for Broussard. What do we have? 1, 2. Straw poll for Briars. Okay, 1, 2, 7. Okay. Donahue. Paul. Hamilton. Hannigan. Herrig. Higgins. Joyce. Cone. Lamb withdrew. Mills. Look at you. And Parentow. I apologize if I got your name wrong, Crystal. So we have my count, you have exactly 6 people with more than 5 votes. This is how awesome our staff is. I didn't even ask them to double check.
Well, all right. So then, who would the 2 alternates be? Who's seventh?
Well, on this first.
I'm just curious. Or you can figure that. You don't have to say it. But it's a
I think
method
you're looking
we
at
could use to choose
Aker and Cone as alternates, but don't quote me on that. But so, with straw poll, 7 for Broussard, 7 for Briers, 5 for Donahue, 5 for Hamilton.
Sorry, Connor, could you start that over?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit slower.
Sorry.
All right.
So you have Broussard, Byers, Donahue, Hamilton, Higgins, and Mills. Those are the only 6 by my count and by Sean's, through telepathy, that were over a majority, that had 5 or more.
Okay.
So if that feels incorrect to anyone on the boards, obviously use your time for deliberation. But that's the straw poll.
Who did you say was number 7 and 8? If we wanted to use that method, it should help.
Looks like Cone and Aker.
Cone and Aker.
So I'll just say that my thinking on this, the way that came to my 6 was, I think having representation from police and fire on here are important, and that was 2 of my picks. Tom Broussard is always my top choice because he was our financial expert on the select board, and not only does he have the financial understanding, but he can really relate that to people, and I think a lot of this is going to be the communication. I like Jocelyn because she's a new mom and she's got a new mom perspective. She has some older children in the school, but also I just like that perspective of a new person. Nancy, I think, has a really good combination of experience in the schools and also in the private sector. Denise, I think she really is a voice. I've gotten to know her a little bit, and I like that she does challenge things. And I think that we definitely need a perspective like that on here. And Chris Mills on the fire department. So I did have Chris Aker as one of mine, thinking police and fire, but I think James Hamilton as being high on the ranking is another, a fresh perspective for somebody who grew up in the town and was a student. So I think that's wonderful as well. Anybody else?
Is that the top 6? Is that everyone we?
In your straw poll, you could attempt to twist arms and persuade, but that's your choice.
I do not want to do that. I am fine with the democracy we've created here, and this one goes through. Yeah. And I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you go.
In this group, those top 6 people, those are fantastic people. Every one of them. I mean, maybe we didn't hit on everybody's. Maybe you didn't get all of yours, and that's fine. But I think this is all of our choices. And you look at this, and everybody contributes in some different way. Everybody has a different background, or they represent a different group of people, or they're there for a different reason. But ultimately, they're all there for the same reasons. I think this is a great group of 6 people.
School committee?
Nancy or Kelly, do you have any?
Like I said, it's very hard, and all of these people would have done a great job on the committee, so.
Yeah.
Yep. I would say the same. I did make some of my choices based on knowing that we already had some great representation on the committee from representatives from the EAA and from the schools. So I wanted to try to create some balanced perspectives in terms of who we brought forward. I was actually very excited by the professional background of some of the applicants as well. I just think bringing some of the perspective of, I'm a data person, I say that all the time, data analytics and budget experience and financial experience, I think really lends itself, as well as, to your point, having some of the police and fire representation as well. So I think we've got a great group of folks, but I hope everyone continues to engage as well.
Because a big part of this is going to be communicating the results back out to the public, and a lot of the data analysis, and there's going to be a lot of, number crunching work as well.
Yes.
But having those perspectives. I'm going to ask you to wait until we have the board just.
I was going to say that if it would make it easier, I will take my name off, and that way we could move one person up, and that would be fine.
Okay.
So the top people would be, right now, Tom Broussard, Jocelyn Byers, Nancy Donahue, Chris Mills, James Hamilton, and Denise Higgins. Is that
Correct.
I got that right?
That's correct.
Yes,
those
those
are
are our
the,
six.
those are
And
the
then
six
that's
from
the
Then
six.
Chris falls just below that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, Chris Cohn and Chris Aker were the
7 and 8.
7 and 8 for the alternates.
And I'll just say too, Dottie, I didn't take your approach, which was interesting. So you took it kind of departmentally, and I didn't. I took it just based on the skill sets of the people here. And there's only one person I didn't get that I chose. This is a strong 6. I agree. There's a lot of strong alternates here, so I'm very excited to have had an opportunity to choose from this group.
Well, we're good to go.
I'm amazed at the number of people who came out and the quality of people that came out.
Yeah, the skill sets brought forward were
It always
impressive.
amazes me and pleases me to see all the people in this town who volunteer. And I think it's fantastic. And although I didn't, one of these people was not on my list, I'm comfortable with that. And I see that we have 2 alternate people that I'm also very comfortable with too.
All right. So if everybody is in agreement that we take the top 5 and then the top 6 and then
So
the top 4, and then the top 4
It's
will
6
be
and
the
2,
appoint.
right? It's 6.
Yes, it's
6 and 2.
full members. Yes.
full members, 2
So the
alternates.
first 6 full
Yes.
members, and then 2
Yes, and
alternates.
so just
Okay.
for the record's sake, if the boarding committee would like, you could consider a slate of the 6 top members, which would be Broussard, Byers, Donahue, Hamilton, Higgins, and Mills for an appointment to expire June 30th of 2025 that you can consider as a slate. And if you do, with a motion and second, you could just do your last name, yes or no.
Okay. So
moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger and Lamb, we'll start that way, and you say your name and slate.
DeLuca, Slate, yes.
Percio, Slate, yes.
Star, Slate, yes.
Stebbins, Slate.
Stacy Slate, yes.
Lamb, Slate.
Full Janetti slate?
Barger, Slate.
Okay. And now for the 2 alternate members?
Yes, that's up to the group, how you'd like to determine that.
Yeah, so one more time, the other 2 were Aker. The next top 2 were Christopher
and
Aker
Cohn?
and
Yes.
Christopher Cohn.
That's correct.
I'm very comfortable with those 2 people.
As am I.
as well. Yeah.
Okay. Want to make a motion?
So I move to appoint Chris Aker and Chris Cohn as alternates to the committee.
Second.
That's Barger and Lamb, and so we'll name and slate again.
DeLuca, Slate.
Percio, Slate.
Star, Slate.
Stebbins, Slate.
Stacy Slate.
Lamb, Slate.
Full Janetti slate?
Barger, Slate.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Just voted me, and I heard you talking that you want new people, you would invite new people to come on. I'm an old person, I've been on a lot of committees. It's fine with me if you take me off of the alternate and you move somebody up.
We're very comfortable with you being an
Yeah.
alternate. We like your perspective, and we encourage you to stay involved.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, though. Are you trying to back out of this now?
If the time commitment.
When I first started the planning board, we started at 6, we ended at 1 o'clock in the morning. And so.
This is going to be a walk in the park for you.
No, okay.
Okay.
Your drive, I agree with your drive for new people.
We're also looking for experience, and you have experience in different boards and committees and in the role in the school, and not just academically, but building school, things like that. So I think that was what my perspective was on that. So, all right.
My perspective was that your planning board experience was very valuable. And so while there were several other people I would have voted for had I had more time, just like all, had that to do so, but I did appreciate your experience with our planning board and our capital planning, so I thought your perspective would be great. So we appreciate that. But.
So again, asking people, please, what you can do is if you are interested in this and you go onto the town's website, on the bottom you see Documents on Demand. If you click on there, you can click off any committees that you're interested in getting anytime an agenda is posted and anytime the minutes are posted, and they'll be emailed to you so that you can always know when the meetings are. We post the meetings 48 hours in advance, and you can join by Zoom, or if any of them are in person, you can do them in person. So I really encourage and welcome people to do that. The more people that we have, in fact, I'm planning to try to go out and ask even more people to join the meetings, because, I mean, it's going to be really important. And the more people that we can expose to this and get their input, especially people that, might not always be the way, that you think about things, encourage them to join. So, Tom?
Could I also just put a plug in? There's a ton of information out on the town website, like the budget subcommittee pages specifically has a lot of the historical discussion and a lot of information regarding the structural revenue deficit we've talked about and our expense structure. And certainly you can look at any of the town budget books. Those are incredibly informative, but there is a tremendous amount of information already available on the topic if anybody in the room or in the town wants to go and start doing some homework.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'll
Connor?
just say that, as with any committee, you'll all be contacted by the town clerk's office either this week or early next with instructions on how to swear in. My office will reach out with basically to put a poll together of when can we get a majority of these folks together at some point in August for a first meeting. And once the EEA picks their 2 representatives, which will occur this month, is my understanding, we will send a homework assignment out to everyone that says, here's the first meeting date, here's the charge, here's the town budget, all these other documents for reference, so more people could take a look at before the first meeting, the better. And we'll be off and running.
Excellent.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.
And the school committee has to adjourn.
Oh, yes.
All right, so.
Not so fast, Nancy, trying to make a quick getaway.
All right, so can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Go ahead.
So moved, Percio.
Second, DeLuca.
Roll call vote?
DeLuca, yes.
Percio, yes.
Star, yes.
Great. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Would you mind if I skip out?
Oh, no, not at all. Select Board Member Stebbins, so you're leaving and not coming back? Select Board Member Stebbins is leaving and not coming back, and I just want to, I was going to say this in Select Board notes, so I want to just say it now before you leave. So we were really excited to get a wheelchair, a beach wheelchair for our town pool, and Jamie couldn't be there that day, so he sent his son as his amazing representative, and I just wanted to say thank you for being there, Birch, and it was really nice to have your perspective. And it was a really fun day, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in Select Board notes, but I wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dottie.
Okay.
Hi, Jamie.
Good luck, Birch.
Good luck in the game. All right,
Dottie,
next.
if I may, just because we have 2 items that have folks here. If we could we take them out of order?
Sure.
If you're okay with that. We have, I believe, is Phil Vesio. Phil was here last time. That's under item 8 for a Concom appointment. And then we also have representatives from Commonwealth Endoscopy Center who are here to give an informational presentation on their business coming to town.
Okay, hang on one second.
So that's items
8 and 9.
8 and 9.
Okay.
And then we have the other dozen.
All right, Philip, we've already met. Come on back up again. It's a good sign you came back. Yeah. So when you were in and you interviewed before for the Conservation Commission, we knew that there was going to be another vacancy coming up. So we lucked out by having somebody that was already interested and did interview. So if you want to just tell us, just briefly again, you don't have to because we already know, but for the people at home that might have missed you.
Well, they're lost, right?
That's right.
So again, Phil Vescio, I am a project manager, have 9 years ongoing experience, and 2 of those years I spent working for an environmental conservation cleanup firm. I have a lot of experience dealing with SWIP, stormwater pollution plans, a lot of permitting, and I have a lot of experience working with contractors as well as residential homeowners, and I fully understand that Conservation Commission here in Easton is looking for someone that can follow rules and not just weigh strongly on one side, whether to develop everything or to save everything. So really looking forward to being a part of this committee, and I hope that my professionalism and my personal experience could really help the town.
I think that's great. To me, you're the perfect choice, the perfect balance of what we're looking for, and I can't wait to see what you do. I don't know if I mentioned it at the last meeting, but there is a, I don't know how to describe it. It's a group of Conservation Commission experts, and you can take online courses, or it's what am I trying to think of, like a professional affiliation kind of a thing.
Sure. Right.
So there are resources for you to learn as much as you want to get up to speed, and it's a really knowledgeable board. Our staff is excellent, so it'll be great.
Wonderful.
All right.
So I move to appoint Philip Vesio, Conservation Commission, with the term ending June 30th, 2026.
Second, Lamb.
That's Barger and Lamb, and a roll call vote.
Stacy Vesio.
Lamb Vesio.
Full Janetti Vesio.
Barger Vesio.
Congratulations. You will
you
get
so
an
much.
email from the town clerk with more information.
Thank you. Have a great
Thanks,
night.
Phil.
Thank you. Okay, next, we have an informational presentation with Commonwealth Endoscopy Center, 3 Washington Place, Easton. Come on up. If you'd just like to introduce yourself and just give us...
Sure, we actually have a few slides we'll roll through here really quick.
Okay.
Introduce us as well. This is the clicker, right?
Yep, so just right arrow to advance.
The arrow, the arrow.
Yeah, you can test it.
Great, thanks for having us. Just here to do some brief slides that will introduce us in our project that we're excited about. That I have to do 2 at once, right?
Yep.
Let's see here. So this community meeting is being held as part of the determination of need process required by the Department of Public Health for an ambulatory surgery center that will be located at 3 Washington Place in Easton. We actually just presented out to the Development Council meeting last week. We've notified elected officials, including the Easton Select Board, as well as the health and other service providers. The purpose of this meeting is to educate the public about the proposed project, solicit feedback, and answer any questions.
And you're Chris, right?
And I just shut that off. Yeah, I'm getting to that. I shut that off, didn't I? Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm used to pressing the down button. My fault. Yeah, we can get to introducing ourselves right here. Thank you. Sorry.
I just
I'll go
paused
over.
the-
Yeah.
Yep.
There we go.
It's hard having the TV behind you, too.
Yeah, I know. First, the project principal, we'll introduce ourselves, and then we'll follow with a question and answer. So a little bit about the project here. Commonwealth Endoscopy Center is located currently in West Bridgewater, right on 106, across from West Bridgewater High School. Facility's been a long-standing joint venture between AmSurg Holdings, who I represent, and Commonwealth Endoscopy Center, the physician group. AmSurg is a nationally recognized leader in the strategic and operational management of surgery centers that deliver high-quality, high-value, same-day surgical services with superior patient experience. Commonwealth Endoscopy Center is owned by a group of physicians with long-standing relationship in the community. The physician owners have supplied specialized gastroenterology care for the southeastern Massachusetts region for over 30 years.
I'll let Dr. Solomons here introduce himself, and then I will.
Hi, I'm Dr. Howard Solomons. I'm an Easton resident for 28 years, and I've never been to a town meeting, and this has been fascinating to me. I represent a gastroenterology group that's been in the Brockton kind of metro area. We have offices in Brockton, Taunton, East Bridgewater, Middleborough. And we've had this endoscopy center for 27 years in West Bridgewater, which was actually the first freestanding single specialty center in Massachusetts. We've kind of outgrown our facility. We have 11 providers in our practice, so we're kind of the largest gastroenterology specialty group in southeastern Massachusetts. And so we've been in our present location for 27 years. It's a 2-room endoscopy center, and we've outgrown our facility. So we found a very nice location on Washington Street in Easton, so we plan to open up this new center. I think we met some of you at the Economic Development meeting.
Yep.
And so we're very excited about this. All our partners are very excited about this. It will be a 4-room center that supplies gastroenterology services to the Easton community and the surrounding communities. We'll be able to put through about 10,000 to 12,000 patients a year. There's a backlog right now of patients that need colonoscopies and upper procedures in Massachusetts, especially in southeastern Massachusetts, where a lot of the community hospitals have been having some issues. So we're trying to move as many of our patients to the outpatient facilities as we possibly can. So we're really excited about this. We've had a working relationship with AmSurg for 15 years at our present location. It's been a terrific partnership, and we look forward to continuing that partnership moving forward. So, and I have to come to more of these meetings.
And I'm Chris Fenor. Like I said, I represent AmSurg in the joint venture. I'm the director of operations for actually nine surgery centers in Massachusetts. AmSurg is a national company with about 270 centers nationally. So in this case, Commonwealth Endoscopy Center, I'm the chairman of the board, and Dr. Solomons here is the medical director. So go to the next one. Nope. So this is our center that we're looking to. You guys are probably very, very familiar with it, at 3 Washington Place, right next to Roach Brothers Plaza. It's an existing 2-story state-of-the-art medical office building with about 26,000 square feet. Our ambulatory surgery center would make up the majority of the first floor, right on that bottom left side of the building. And we would specialize in the gastroenterology procedures. Convenient access to local highways and routes. Our center will make up probably about 7,500 square feet. I get to the blueprints in the next slide. 4 procedure rooms it will have. As Dr. Solomons mentioned, we're expanding from a 2-room center to a 4-room center, which essentially will double our capacity to care for the backlog of patients that exists. 12 preoperative and postoperative beds combined. Important to mention, it just increases access to this kind of much needed care. And we provide virtual access for over 100 languages, including sign languages, handicap accessible. Obviously on the first floor, that was a point that we made sure we were going in there with, and we accept the majority of insurances, as well as including Medicare and Mass Health. And this is our floor plan. Shows the 4 procedure rooms here, 12 pre-op bays and everything. Decontamination and clean workroom area for the cleaning, processing, and the storage of all the medical scopes, administrative area, and the staff lounge for the staff that are going to be putting through about 12,000 procedures per year. So that's it, short and sweet, but excited to move to Easton and the opportunity here as we are looking to submit our DON application by the end of the month.
That's terrific. Well, I'm going to let you go first, Mark, because you're the Economic Development Chair.
Thank you very much, Dottie. So these guys met with us last week?
Last week.
Yeah, last week. And they shared this fantastic presentation with us. It's great to have more business in town. Serves our community, serves the greater community. And, you had alluded to there's some issues with hospitals in our area right now, and that will definitely help that. So that will, by result of that, support our community. So I think this is fantastic. more business in town, and exactly what we need.
Right.
Great.
Jen?
We'll be bringing our staff with us, which includes a number of registered nurses, endoscopy techs, anesthesia personnel. So.
How much staff? Like,
what did we say?
We're gonna need to double the staff.
Yeah,
when
so at least, what, 30 staff members?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so open up some new jobs.
Yeah. So.
And those people will eat in our restaurants, shop
yeah.
in our
You got it.
stores. I mean, that,
Absolutely.
you know, I mean that
Shop town.
sincerely. I mean, this is great. But we care about new jobs, you know, because we want people to come to our community for that. So we hope that people can live in or near our community as well, because
I'm
that's
looking
really
forward to it. I
important.
could probably bike to it.
It's a great spot.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're very excited about this relationship.
Yeah.
Great.
We really are.
Jen?
I had no question. Mine was about staffing, but I'm very excited to hear you be expanding as part of this effort. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, and the patients, we had a patient on last week who was maybe concerned about their continuity of care, and there'll be a complete continuity of care.
Excellent.
The patients in our West Bridgewater Center will come over. They keep their physicians. We have the same referral days, the same way we bring people in, the direct booking line, and so forth. So. We've been very established in the community, so we're very committed here.
I think this expands our reach a little bit too for some of those underserved areas for this specialty of gastroenterology. By being in Easton versus West Bridgewater, we can grab Mansfield and the surrounding towns just through PCP referrals or self-referrals or just screenings. So good opportunity not only to expand our capacity to take care of our patients, but also new patients as well.
Yep.
It's incredible to think
Craig?
about 12,000 procedures.
I'm sorry?
12,000 procedures
we're
in the
looking
current
at
location.
probably 12,000 procedures between the 4 rooms.
That's
we've got
incredible.
about 6 now. So
Wow.
Yeah. So we'll be able to double our capacity. There'll be about at least 11 physicians working through there. So we should be able to reach that goal.
Excellent. And it's a great location. Like I said,
It
very
is.
easy to get to and good access to the highway and
It
such.
is great.
so-
There's a Dunkin' Donuts across the street.
Yes.
That's the most important part, yes.
Greg?
I had the privilege of meeting this gentleman at the Economic Development Council meeting, so thank you.
Yep, so we've communicated by email. One of the things that I think about is when the first building was built and the first medical went in there, in the Economic Development Council, we've been talking to strategically what type of businesses that we want to have, how does it work, how do you have clusters of businesses, and so we imagined that could really attract other medical. And then the other 2 buildings went up. I noticed that there's now like a new foot and joint place, orthopedic. So it is attracting more physical therapy. It's gonna be a hotspot for the medical industry. And I know that's a great building. It looks like you would even have the opportunity to expand further potentially if or have a company that is complementary to what you're doing also. So maybe not your company, but somebody else might want to come there because you have similarities, right?
Right.
So that's really, I mean, that's like, we should write that up as a case study because that is really the success of what we were looking to do there.
It's a terrific area for medical practices.
Right.
Upstairs, we have upstairs in this building, we'll have a primary care group.
Yep.
There's an orthopedic surgeon in that building as well, and that whole area. And we service both the Steward primary cares in that location and the Signature primary cares.
Yeah.
So we're on staff at Good Sam, Brockton, and at Morton Hospital. So,
Yep.
we have a familiarity with all those primary care physicians.
Yep, and there's cardiologists and other surgical in there, so it's going to be a really great place to go to. One other thing, I just made a couple of notes. I can't read my writing here. I did want to comment on the staff, the more expansion, and the gastroenterology. Easy for me to say, is so important, and colonoscopies are so important, and I think more and more people are really relying on getting that testing. It's one of the most preventable types of cancer if people do that regularly, so I figure it's worth a shout out for that. And I think that the services that you're offering are going to be really valuable to the community, and we're really thrilled that you chose Easton.
Well, we're thrilled as well. And we're really looking forward to it. And as far as time frame is concerned, we're hoping probably by spring or early summer.
Yeah, if all goes smoothly
of
with
25.
the DON process, yeah, by Q3.
Well, just make sure that you're communicating, and, you know, like I said, that you just need to get the permits and what have you. And if you have any questions, Sean is our expert that can help you. But we think it's very easy to do business in Easton, so we hope that you'll give us a testimonial at the end and tell us that you agree.
We're really excited about it. Thank you so much.
And this is just a regular meeting that we have every other week. Town meeting is twice a year, so now I know where to find you. I will put a note on your door, and you can come join us at town meeting.
Thank you.
Make sure he gets the invite.
Well, we wish you great success,
Thank you
and
so much.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
gentlemen.
All right.
Wonderful night.
Dottie, if we maybe, I did not realize Linda was still here keeping tabs on the meeting. So item 10, I think, is the last item with an attendee. I think I'm
Yep,
more confident I'm correct this time. Perhaps if we do that, could we then take like a 2-minute recess?
sure.
Hi, Linda.
Did you say wait till Mark gets back, or do it now and then take?
Well, that's your call.
Yeah.
I don't know when. I don't know how long.
I think he's going to chat for a minute, so let's just, we only need 3.
Move on.
So item 10 is the discussion and vote for the Clean Water Trust interim loan note number MCWT-24-05. Approve the issuance and details of an interim loan from the Mass Clean Water Trust and sign related interim loan closing documents. So,
Hi, good
thank you,
evening.
Linda.
You've had a long night. So this should be brief. This is closing the interim loan for the second half of an authorization from 2021 for the septic repair program. The interim loan will allow people or the Board of Health to get the money to extend to the homeowners to repair the septic systems. And this is also the second half of a $1 million authorization, and then we still have another $1 million that the Board of Health is going through very quickly now that they can use the loan proceeds to tie into the sewer system, not only repair septic, but also tie into the sewer.
That's great.
So that's just beginning to start right now. So I suspect we'll go right through it.
Excellent. Any questions?
I was impressed with the 175 completed repairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the $4.8 million.
Yes, yeah.
That's significant.
More than 5 million, including this, with this. Yeah.
I'd also like to point out, I remember this program got adopted by town meeting shortly before I started my career here. And at that time, and in certain times leading through there, 4% interest was not like a slam dunk.
Right.
But it can be now, depending on how you would finance this. So the ability to do that at that rate and have it be part of, I believe, the lien of a property rather than a
Right.
loan is it's a really great financial tool for homeowners. So I appreciate Linda's work, Board of Health's work as well on helping get folks the repairs they need.
Well, when this comes up, it's not like, usually not planned for. I live in terror every day about my own house because it was built in the 1800s, and it's the original, the original. I don't even like to say it out loud, but knowing that you have that opportunity when that comes up is really important. Well, thank you for your work on that. Craig, do you want to
I
make?
move to adopt the votes prepared by the bond council in connection with the town's interim loan note number CW-24-05 and incorporate the text of the vote of the select board in the minutes of this meeting.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate you taking me out of order.
No problem. You can leave the door open. That just got closed over because of the vacuuming. All right. Now let's go back to the Cultural Council appointment. Adam Fernandez with a term ending of June 30th, 2027. Anyone have any comments or questions on Adam?
I move to appoint Adam Fernandez for the Cultural Council with a term ending June 30th, 2027.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb. And
Stacy,
yep, roll call vote.
Stacy Fernandez.
Lamb Fernandez.
Fulgenetti Fernandez.
Barger Fernandez.
Okay. We also have the acceptance of a resignation from the Conservation Commission. Rory Kalfeldt, his term is ending June 30th, 2026. And I just want to thank Rory. He's been a real champion on that. He's gotten, he's made a big impact on that committee, and he's been a really great mentor for the others that are on there. So I want to thank him for his dedicated service over the years and wish him well in his next venture.
Yeah, he did a heck of a job, and he, as chair, he helped to mentor the current chair. So I very much appreciate it. Not only his involvement with conservation, but his involvement in the community. But, it's a loss for us.
Yeah.
It is, for sure.
So do you want to make the motion to accept?
I move to accept the resignation of Rory Caulfield from the Conservation Commission with a term ending June 30th, 2026.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb.
Stacy Caulfield.
Lamb Caulfield.
Full Janetti Caulfield.
Roger Caulfield.
And another resignation from the Human Rights Committee, Karen Chan. Her term was ending June 30th, 2026. I also want to say that Karen has brought so much enthusiasm, passion, knowledge, and expertise to that committee. She's just done a wonderful job, her and her family. Really great contributors to everything they did. And Craig, I'm sure you have comments being on that committee, but I want to thank Karen.
Karen joined the committee in 2016 when you proposed to reconstitute the Human Rights Committee, and she's been a champion of human rights in this community and outside of this community. She's been a terrific chair. She was co-chair for a number of years, and then she took on the chair when Liz Bornstein left. I told Karen that it was going to be a real loss to our committee. It's not a loss to our community because she still lives in our community and she will still be involved. But her leadership and her creativity, her thoughtfulness is something that I personally am going to miss. So I move to accept the resignation of Karen Chan from the Human Rights Committee with a term ending June 30th, 2026.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb.
Stacy Chan.
Lamb Chan.
Full Janetti Chan.
Barger Chan.
Great. Item 11 is a discussion and vote PCD 2023-04 change order number 2, BSC Group for the Swifts Park design updates.
Sure. Thank you, Dottie. Attached in your packet is a memo from the Director of Planning and Economic Development, Stephanie Danielson, that goes into more detail. But this is a $7,930 change order to the original design contract with BSC Group, who are the designers on the Swifts Park. Working with the Swifts Park Steering Committee, as the board is aware, the funding for construction of that was approved by town meeting, which is great. And so this is a update to that contract for bid preparation, issuing of requests for proposals, and construction administration. So this is within available funds. I believe the change order will be funded out of planning department, consulting budget, and I recommend approval.
Okay, any comments, questions? Pretty straightforward.
I move to approve the PCD 2023-04 change order number 2, BSC Group, Swifts Park design updates with a change order amount of $7,930.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, next up, the discussion and vote on DPW 2023-27 change order number 2, Lawrence Lynch Corp. for the Oliver Ames High School court reconstruction.
Sure, thank you, Dottie. So as the board will recall, there was a really great court reconstruction project over at OA funded with CPA funds that was completed, I believe, last summer. And these funds are some smaller in the scheme of a project budget items that were considered at the outset, but in order to control budget at the bidding stage, these were left aside as potential change orders when the project closed out. So there is sufficient funding left in the project budget. It would add a Rally Master bang board of a tennis court for a practice area and adding a breaker nearby to the softball field to be controlled, to control the lighting there instead of having to do so from inside the school, because that could be a challenge. It's for $16,989. It's recommended by DPW, and I agree.
Okay, sounds like it's important.
Yeah, I move to approve DPW 2023-27 change order number 2, Lawrence Lynch Corporation, Oliver Ames Court reconstruction for the Rally Master 10x16 bang board and the 100 amp breaker in the shed for the softball field. total amount of $16,989.21.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. All right, item 13, to designate Town Administrator Connor Reed as Easton's authorized representative to Mass DEP for the Red Mill Road Water Treatment Plant PFAS project.
Sure, thank you, Dottie. So requesting a vote for the board's consideration. There's an authorization form for your review. This vote would allow me to be the authorized signatory in relation to filing state revolving fund loan applications and executing agreements related to that for financial assistance, specifically for funding the planning and construction activities relating to water pollution abatement projects, and in this case specifically relating to PFAS filtration and mitigation to be installed at the Red Mill Road Water Treatment Plant as funded by town meeting, so that we could stay ahead of the United States EPA PFAS MCL. It doesn't circumvent town meeting's appropriation authority, and it is really an administrative matter to allow me to file paperwork to bind the town to loans to draw down on those funds only if town meeting's appropriated the money.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me. I move to designate the Town Administrator Connor Reed as Easton's authorized representative to the Mass DEP for the Red Mill Road Water Treatment Plant PFAS project.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Discussion and vote DPW 2023-01 contract extension, M&M contract cleaning, building and cleaning services.
Sure, thank you, Dottie. There's a contract extension with the existing company we work with for building cleaning that comes from a bid that was originally solicited in 2022 that allows for one-year options. This vote would extend the contract for 1 additional year with no change in the contract terms or price. DPW recommends, so do I.
Okay, any comments, questions?
No.
I move to approve the DPW 2023-01 contract extension, M&M contract cleaning, building cleaning services in the amount $57,330 for a period of 1 year. Would it be June 30th, 2025?
Second.
Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. All right, item 15, discussion and vote DPW 2025-01 Liberty Chevrolet 2024 Silverado 3500 truck and related accessories.
Sure, thank you, Dottie. There's a memo and contract attached in your packet, a memo from Director of Public Works Dave Field. First item is a 2024 Silverado 3500 related accessories for the Water Division. This is in connection to the approved capital plan that town meeting authorized. The purchase price is $407 above the capital appropriation, and so that balance will be paid from Water Division operating funds. I recommend approval.
Any comments or questions?
No.
Move to approve DPW 2025-01 with Liberty Chevrolet for a 2024 Silverado 3500 truck and related accessories in the amount of $85,407.76. $85,000 approved by town meeting and $407.76 balance funded through the Water Division operating budget.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Discussion and vote DPW 2025-02 Colonial Municipal Group 2024 Ford F550 hook lift truck and accessories.
Sure, thank you, Dottie. Attached in your packet is a contract and associated memo from Director of Public Works Dave Field. This would replace motor equipment in the Highway Division. Again, this stems from capital budget approved by town meeting. It's for a new 2024 Ford F550 hook lift with a dump body plow, material spreader, and a variety of related accessories that are detailed in the quote. Total amounts $206,000, which will be paid for with $185,000 out of the available capital budget, and then $21,000 balance being funded through the surplus vehicle and equipment revolving fund. Just for a reminder for the board, the DPW maintains a revolving fund when they do things like use municipal bid and auction off old or surplus vehicles that no longer have a use for the department or past their useful life, and they put those funds into this account so that in instances like this where we have a large purchase that goes over the estimated capital budget, we have a source of funds without hitting reserves or things like that. So I would recommend approval.
Any comments, questions?
No.
I move to approve DPW 2025-02 Colonial Municipal Group for the purchase of a 2024 Ford F550 hook lift truck and accessories in the total amount of $206,356.75, funded through the capital funds of $185,000 and the following $21,356.75 balance funded through the surplus vehicle and equipment revolving fund.
Second.
Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. And item 17, discussion and regarding consideration of film permit policy and fee schedule.
Sure, thank you, Dottie. So like many other Massachusetts communities, Easton is a destination spot when it comes to commercial film, video, and photography. A number of other communities have policies and fees in place that cover it when film companies come to town. It's a little late for me too, I guess. But we currently don't have either. And so for the board's consideration, we wanted to have a discussion tonight to see what that would look like in terms of your input, and we could draft a policy and fee schedule to put together. There's a lot of variability in terms of what other communities do. Some have policies and application forms, some don't. Some have fees, some don't. And then the fee schedule from each of those communities varies widely, from daily fees to weekly fees, or some don't have fees at all. So it's really up to the board how you'd want to approach this, and then we'd be able to draft something for you to consider at a future meeting.
Excellent.
And this is would be in addition to any police detail costs that...
Correct. So this would just create a uniform... I would recommend putting together a policy and an application so there's a uniform process for how we approach a film, when a film company comes to town. That way we can cover all of the necessary components that might affect traffic, parking, noise, to make sure that we're considering those things uniformly. Some communities have exemptions for nonprofit or school filming, things that have educational components. Some don't. Some only cover town property. Some say anything within the bounds of the town. So those would just be things that I'd look for feedback on when drafting a policy or application.
I think that having a policy that's, on the website is like an invitation to people to come to the community to film. Yeah. I think it shows professionalism, and I think it makes it so that everyone knows the expectations, right? There is a checklist, it is uniform. I think it's a great idea, and we've had a couple of, things sprung on us kind of at the last minute, and we don't know, are we competitive, are we not competitive, do they need police detail? Did we ask them all the questions we need to know? Because, this happened and we didn't see that coming. So, so I think that, we've got enough experience now to do that. And Easton, there's been a number of movies shot in Easton. So I think this puts us in a good position to work collaboratively with filmmakers.
Great.
I agree.
Agreed.
Agreed, 100%.
In terms of exemptions, are there, do you want to include some sort of provision that would exempt nonprofit or educational documentary? Those I could put something together based off of what I've seen in other communities.
That'd be great.
Yeah, definitely, because we do want independent. We have the Hockomock Film Festival where independent filmmakers come to showcase their work, and I know that there's a big creative community in the film industry around here. I wouldn't want them to be constrained, but if it's a big movie house with famous people, they're not going to, whine about paying a couple $100, right?
Yeah, they do it all the time.
Yeah.
And then in terms of fees, everything from $100 a day, $200 a day, and I think based off of what I've seen from other communities, I'm thinking for one day we would do $100. And then $300 for a week, and then if they're there multiple weeks successively, then it would increase to $500 per week. Does that seem in line with what you would think would be appropriate for?
That does not cover police details.
That's simply just for the permit, not for. They'd be responsible for all the other costs associated.
And that was where your benchmarking kind of put us as.
Yeah, like I said, some communities have 100, some have 200, some don't charge at all, which I think is a missed opportunity, especially when you have these big film companies coming into town.
Would it be easier if you charged just weekly? So if they're here for one day, it's automatically 1 week, the $300 charge?
We were initially thinking $300, but I thought if you were just going to come in for one day, but you're being charged for what you would get for a week, that's why I figured one day would be good for the $100 fee, and then it increases to $300,
Yeah.
rather than charging them $500 for 1 week. And then if they're there for successive weeks, then presumably they're taking up parking, they're in the roadway, there's noise associated, so then that's when it increases as the longer that you stay in town.
Any road closures come to us, but I assume so we would be aware of it through that as well, in addition to. Like,
If they required a road closure, yes.
Okay. But this is good because it actually opens the mechanism for that discussion, which has been missed in the past.
So it's not like, how do we do that when it comes once or twice a year?
So that's just for the permit. So if we had a situation like we had before where they wanted to park their vehicles at a certain place for a certain time, is there a way to leverage that separately than the permit? Like
So
parking fees?
If it's on town land, then they have to get a permit through my office for use of it. So one of the examples we had before that did occur, and we charged a fee for their use. They were parking at the town pool because it was off season, so we do have that's baked into the charter. Actually, not about film, but use of town property. So
Okay.
So that is kind of already there. We could certainly incorporate reference to that. But this is just a permit to be here, kind of professionally, in a for-profit capacity, filming within the jurisdiction. If you need police details, that's still on you. If you have a private agreement for parking, that's on you. If you want to rent town parking, you need a separate agreement. This is really just to reflect that, as Sean referenced, as time goes on, the logistics of this, if it's one day, it's one day. There's some coordination and time involved, but when there are ones that are much larger, then it turns into multiple departments coordinating if it's during a school year, as we learned, needing to make sure that we're coordinating so we don't have a ton of commercial vehicles going through the bus pickup and drop-off routes, and so it just becomes a more resource-intensive process for staff that we want the fees to reflect.
Yeah, I think it's great. Removing the ambiguity from the process is always a good thing. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome.
And then the $50 application fee, like any other permit or license that we have in town, would still apply as well. Just mentioning that for consideration as well. And then this would just amend our already existing fee schedule that we'd vote on annually.
Perfect. Well, we're not going to close a budget gap with it, but but I think that the consistency and the transparency is important. So awesome. Thank you for your work on that, Sean.
Sure.
Thank you, Sean.
All right. Acceptance of the minutes dated June 24th.
So moved, Barger.
Second.
Barger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Town administrator notes?
Sure, I have a few. The past few days, I've had the privilege on behalf of the town and the select board to go to a couple of retirements. One with the police department was for Lieutenant Keith News, who did 25 years of service to the community and is retiring at the rank of lieutenant. Has been a really important part of the police department, has helped train up as part of a police leadership team a new generation of officers coming up, and also served our country in the Army for many years. And so there was a nice reception for him at the police department Friday. Dottie and I were able to present a plaque recognizing his services on behalf of the select board of the town. And so I just wanted to say thank you to Lieutenant Nunes for his service and acknowledge that retirement. And then today we had firefighter John White, 37 and a half years of service to Easton Fire, which is really incredible. He had a lot of his family there, which was really wonderful to see. And it was really incredible listening to firefighter White and the department talking about, someone starting in the mid-'80s with the professionalization of the fire service, the expansion of advanced medical service. Firefighter White was one of a group of 7 hired when Bay Road Fire was being opened as the new station.
Wow.
In Easton. And so he's been there for it all, was on some really tough calls, made some really important life-saving moves in his career, helped deliver a couple of children into this world. And so we're just very fortunate thinking on both firefighter White and Lieutenant Nunes. We just have really excellent people in our departments. And I was happy to be able to be a small part on the board's behalf, thanking them for their decades and decades of service to Easton. And then another item I would like to note, since your last meeting, I think it might have been the day after your last meeting, I was invited by the Mass Municipal Association and MassPIRG to be part of a legislative briefing at the State House in Boston, along with a variety of environmental groups, the Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts, health experts and a lot of really great individuals speaking and lobbying for action on the PFAS bill that I worked on the state's interagency task force now years ago. That task force was created, I believe, in 2020 as part of a budget adopted. It did 2 years of work led by Rep. Hogan and Senator Sear, produced a recommended bill for regulation of PFAS in Massachusetts, for prohibition of most PFAS in Massachusetts, the creation of a remediation fund for municipalities like Easton, who are now up to $17 million committed to mitigating this forever chemical that we did not create. And Massaperg MMA and Rep. Hogan and Senator Sear in partnership put this briefing on to really remind lawmakers and the public and the press who were there that the legislative session ends very soon, July 31st. And so this bill, for anyone who takes notes on these things at 9 o'clock at night at home, is H4486. It's currently in front of House Ways and Means. It's a really important bill to see adopted on a statewide level. I'm speaking both somewhat selfishly as Easton's town administrator, but also just as a resident of a Commonwealth who has, family and children here, like so many others who relies on the drinking water here. Would really hope to see this bill pass. A majority of lawmakers are already signed on as co-sponsors. Easton's Rep. Carol Doherty is a co-sponsor. Senator Timilty is a co-sponsor. They've been very supportive of this, but it's currently, or last I checked, I should say, with House Ways and Means, but we're hopeful that the legislature will take the action that needs to be done here, because it will be a real missed opportunity. If not, it would have to be reintroduced next legislative session, which will not be until January of 2025. And as we know, the cost for managing this, just looking at really the small part of dealing with this in water, let alone with turnout gear, food packaging, consumer goods, industrial goods, just looking at public water is a multi-$100 million public infrastructure crisis in Massachusetts alone. That price tag is only going to grow as the United States EPA regulates this. And while we and many others are part of multi-district litigation to sue 3M and others and hold them accountable for this pollution, we do need this kind of action from the state. So I was happy to be able to participate in that, speak on behalf of cities and towns around the state, but particularly to lend voice to Easton's experience there.
Great. Thank you for representing us.
Yes, thank you.
Terrific. Sean, do you have anything?
Sure, I'll just mention a couple of upcoming dates for procurements that we have out right now. The request for letters of interest for the center school property, the deadline for that's coming up on July 19th, this Friday. The Committee for Climate Action Planning RFP that's out, that deadline is July 29th, and then the invitation for bids for the Swifts Park development is August 15th.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Craig, select board notes?
I don't have anything.
Mark?
I do not have anything.
Jen?
Nothing from me.
Well, I was just going to say a little bit more about the new beach wheelchair we have for handicapped accessibility at the town pool. It's so exciting. There's so many committees and people that came together to make that happen. So Joe Pitti has done an amazing job collaborating with the disability community, both inside our organization and externally, partners like House of Possibilities, Brockton Area ARC. And when we interviewed him when he was hired, he talked a lot about looking at that department beyond what people look at, like kids' recreation or older people's recreation, and really just looking at it multi-generational, all abilities was really important. He's come to the Commission on Disability several times, and he's just so enthusiastic. The Recreation Commission, the Council on Aging, age-friendly communities, there was so much participation in that. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him and thank him for the excellent work. And I hope that people see this and know that we do have a beach wheelchair there so that they can bring people that need it. And also, while we're talking about accessibility, just to do another reminder, because you can't hear it too often, is that, as a town, I think that we look at this as another way that we show our culture and our values. And we also have hearing, listening devices at town meeting. So if people have ideas for things that we're missing, that they think we need, please reach out to the Commission on Disability and let them know, because we have a task of trying to make everything in town more accessible to people. And these are two really big things on the list, the beach accessibility and the hearing. So I just want to thank Joe for that. So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Barger.
Second.
Barger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, ECAT, for being here to broadcast live. If you are around Wednesday night, come to the Cultural District music series. We have a great band, the Brocktones and Craig Carter and the Hurricanes, 7 o'clock. Thanks.